Chapter 8:14, The Aftermath of. From today onwards, there will be no Holy Medicine Celestial Sect and no Holy Medicine Celestial Sect in Jianghu. In the Holy City, tens of millions of people were kneeling on the streets. Wang Xian, who was hovering in the air, announced with a cold face. All the disciples and family members of the two great celestial sects trembled. At this moment, no one dared to speak. If they dared to resist, they would be killed immediately. The Dragon King would not show any mercy. In fact, both parties were hostile forces to begin with. It was reasonable to kill them. Therefore, they did not want to die. They could only kneel in the sacred city and did not dare to move. Search for all the treasures in the two immortal sections. Take everything that is of value and make up for the loss of the Dragon Gate forging workshop. Wang Xian ordered Prime Minister Gui and the other members of the Dragon Palace. It's the Dragon King. The group of immortals moved and flew towards the mountain gates of the two immortal sections. As the two immortal sects with deep foundations, their resources would definitely exceed Wang Xian's imagination. The number of herbs they planted might not be as much as that of the natural-born immortal sects, but it would definitely not be much less. Their resources were sufficient to make up for the losses they had suffered previously. Wang Xian floated in the sky and waited for the members of the Dragon Palace to search. 10 minutes later, Prime Minister Gui and the rest flew out from the Gate of Immortality. Prime Minister Gui even controlled a herbal field within a radius of 10 kilometers. In the sacred city, everyone knelt on the ground without daring to get up. They didn't even dare to breathe heavily as they waited quietly. Let's go. Wang Xian moved his body and flew towards the Dragon Palace. The group of celestial beings from the Dragon Palace immediately followed behind and flew towards the Dragon Palace. Only after Wang Xian and the rest left did some people in the entire sacred city dare to stand up slowly. They looked at the figures that had disappeared and heaved a heavy sigh of relief. At the same time, there was a look of worry on their faces. In the future, the world will be at the Selfless Holy Doctor and Holy Medicine Immortal Sect. Where should we go from here? An old man looked up to the sky and said with a face full of worry. Some other people also stood up silently and walked into the room. They were the losers of the battle. They had provoked an existence that they shouldn't have provoked. A powerful immortal sect instantly declined. They had brought this upon themselves. The distant immortal god also watched this scene quietly. His gaze looked towards the sacred city as his gaze flickered. Let's accept the disciples of the Holy Medicine Immortal Sect. The Xian Yuan clan and the Yuan clan looked at each other and slowly nodded. Although the experts of the two immortal sects had all died, there were still many experts at the Dan stage. Moreover, there were only benefits and no disadvantages in accepting them. At the same time, this was considered a pretty good home for a disciple of an immortal sect who had been exterminated. However, at the same time, the battle on the Jianghu website had shocked everyone. The battle between the 30 immortals and gods resounded throughout the two Jianghu websites. Even in the sky, most people could see this shocking scene. The attacks were as shocking as meteors hitting the earth. The terrifying flames and the screams of the immortals and gods caused people's scalps to go numb. Luckily, they were fighting in the sky. If they were on the ground, their battle could destroy several provinces. Several provinces are a bit exaggerated. The most important thing is that the Dragon Palace is too powerful. They are completely overpowered. If they were evenly matched, the destructive power would be great. However, the Dragon Palace is too powerful. For the past 2 days, the disciples of the Holy Medicine Immortal Sect have been clamoring that they would destroy the Dragon Sect. However, the Dragon King has led the experts of the Dragon Palace to directly destroy them. They can't be arrogant now. The two disciples of the Holy Medicine Immortal Sect knelt in the city for half an hour without daring to move. It is already a blessing that the Dragon King did not kill them. They have humiliated the Dragon King on the Jianghu internet. There is no longer the holy medicine immortal sect in the world. The Dragon Palace will rise to the top of the immortal sect. No one would have thought that the most powerful sect in the world was not the immortal sect that came from the secular world, but the Dragon Palace, which used to be a force in the Jianghu. The strongest person in the Jianghu is undoubtedly the Dragon King. The Dragon King is able to transform into a divine dragon, which is somewhat similar to the bloodline cultivation in the West. It must be because the Dragon King got a great opportunity and obtained the divine dragon bloodline that his cultivation speed is so fast. On the Jianghu website, the disciples of the immortal sects were discussing on the internet in amazement. The impact of this great battle on the Jianghu was too great. The death of 12 immortal gods, including 1 upper immortal and 3 middle immortals, shocked everyone. After the end of the war, the Dragon Palace had become the most powerful force in the pugilistic world. And the Dragon King was the most powerful force in the pugilistic world. Dragon King, we have obtained a lot of good things this time, especially the spiritual herbs and elixirs. There are a lot of them. There are even grade 9 spiritual herbs. Prime Minister Gui came to the Dragon King's hall in the Dragon Palace and reported to Wang Xian with a smile on his face. Move all of them to the herb garden. In addition, place the corpses of the immortal gods from the 2 immortal sects at the Dragon Pond and absorb them. Try your best to nurture a few more immortal gods. Wang Xian sat on the dragon throne with a smile on his face and said to Prime Minister Gui, "It's the Dragon King. He should be able to nurture 5 to 6 immortal gods." Prime Minister Gui said with a smile on his face. "Okay." Wang Xian nodded and swept his gaze across the surrounding members of the Dragon Palace. Currently, there were 16 immortal level members. It wouldn't be long before there would be more of them. Mo Qinglong. The old devil is here. Continue to build the Dragon Gate Forging Workshop. The workshop will continue to open for business within 3 days. Wang Xian ordered Mo Qinglong. "It's the Dragon King." Mo Qinglong replied respectfully. The Dragon Gate Forging Workshop still needed to continue to be built. With this forging workshop, the resources obtained would be able to increase the number of immortals in the Dragon Palace by at least a dozen. "This is your Dragon Palace?" At this moment, a surprised voice was heard. Wang Xian turned his head and looked at Feng Wuan. At this moment, he was looking at his surroundings with a face full of surprise. His eyes were burning as he stared at the ancestral tree. Currently, there were 3 branches on the ancestral tree, the soul-returning wood, the eternal wood, and the tree of servitude. Each of the branches was extremely mystical and exuded a powerful energy. The eternal wood, the legendary divine wood of the vermilion bird tribe. The eternal wood. Phew. Feng Wuan took a deep breath and looked around. This Dragon Palace of yours is similar to the legendary Dragon Palace on the supernatural continent. Could it be that you have obtained the inheritance of the dragon tribe on the supernatural continent? Wang Xian smiled gently and did not speak. He did not know how strong the dragon tribe on the supernatural continent was. However, he had obtained the Invincible divine dragon system. It was definitely not something that the dragon tribe on the supernatural continent could compare to. So many incredible abilities. Feng Wuan was shocked. She raised her head and looked at the huge Kun in the sky. She frowned slightly. This Dragon Palace was simply too mysterious. Wang Xian did not disturb her. He called Prime Minister Gui over and began to settle some matters. Chapter 8:15, Half a year. Time passed day by day. In the blink of an eye, half a year had passed in the boiling battle between immortals and gods. During this half a year, the Dragon Palace had completely spread its name throughout the entire Jianghu. Any immortal sect that was famous would be afraid of it. Moreover, when the Dragon Gate Forging Workshop opened for business again, it was built in the cities under the immortal sections. It was completely not built in the real cities. As for the Longmen Forging Workshop, it completely monopolized the business of medicinal pills and refining weapons in the entire Jianghu. In just half a year's time, Wang Xian had obtained a terrifying amount of resources. Name, Wang Xian. Race, 5 elements divine dragon, able to transform into a human. Level 9. Dragon energy, 94,000, 3421/10,000,000,000. Supernatural ability, ruling the water tribe that is lower than one's own level. Devouring creatures to extract dragon chi. Control of the 5 elements. Cultivation method, divine dragon transformation. Fire refining technique, using the fire of origin to refine everything. Water refining technique, using the water refining technique to refine things for fun. Battle skills, water clone, elementary, blade storm, intermediate, instant water, elementary. In half a year's time, I've increased 100 million dragon chi. I'm still short of 50 million to completely break through. According to Feng Wuan, after my strength breaks through, my realm will be extraordinary. According to the realms on the extraordinary continent, I'm not at the immortal realm at all, but the rebirth realm. Above the rebirth realm, I'll be extraordinary, above the transcendent realm, I'll be at the profound void realm, and above that, I'll be at the longevity realm. According to Feng Wuan's estimation, the creatures on Earth at present can only cultivate to the extraordinary realm at most. Above that, the resources on Earth can't reach it at all. During this half a year, if I don't distribute the resources to the members of the Dragon Palace, I should be able to achieve a breakthrough in my strength. Wang Xian mumbled as he looked at his attributes. His mind was full of thoughts. In this half a year, not only did Wang Xian's strength improve tremendously and he was on the verge of a breakthrough, even Lan Qingyue and Xiao Yu's strength had also improved tremendously. Now, Lan Qingyue and her first Kun had already broken through to the immortal realm. The moment they broke through, they immediately possessed the strength of a middle-level immortal. This was especially so for Kun, whose body size had reached about 150 meters. It was truly terrifying. In addition, Xiao Yu, Elder Fan, and Sun Lingxiu had also broken through to the immortal realm. Only Tang Yinxian had only reached the half-step immortal realm. Apart from the few girls, the strength of the entire Dragon Palace had also increased tremendously. With all kinds of medicinal pills and the energy from the corpses of the immortal gods of the Holy Medicine Immortal Sect. The entire Dragon Palace had increased by 11 immortal gods in half a year. 4 appeared in the Strange Thorn clan, Ao Yeka had advanced to the immortal god realm, 2 appeared in the Devil Monkey clan, 2 appeared in the Golden Swordfish clan, and 2 appeared in the Strange Prawn clan. There were 11 immortal gods. Including the previous 16, there were a total of 27 immortal gods in the Dragon Palace. If Wang Xian, Xiao Yu, and the others were included, there were a total of 34 immortal gods. 34 immortal gods. This was definitely a terrifying strength. In addition to the immortal gods, the number of half-step immortal god realm experts in the Dragon Palace had increased by more than 80. The number of infant realm experts had reached more than 700. In the past half a year, the Dragon Palace had not only obtained medicinal pills and metal materials, but also a large number of spirit stones. These spirit stones could increase the speed of cultivation. It was also because of this that the members of the Dragon Palace could break through so quickly. With the current strength of the Dragon Palace, it was highly possible for them to destroy 4 to 5 top 10 immortal sects at the same time. The increase in the strength of the Dragon Palace was equivalent to the increase in the strength of Wang Xian. Therefore, he sacrificed some resources to the subordinates of the Dragon Palace. Dragon King. At this moment, Prime Minister Gui and Ao Yao came to the Dragon King's hall and greeted Wang Xian respectfully. Speak. Wang Xian sat on the dragon throne and spoke in a dignified manner. For the past half a year, he had basically been in the Dragon Palace. The Dragon Palace was currently built in the 4 major divisions. The Demon War Division was in charge of combat, Ao Chitian was in charge, and the Demon Monkey Clan was in charge. The Thunder Division was in charge of the Thunder Prawn Clan, which was also the Strange Prawn Clan. They were in charge of combat, and Ao Chi was in charge. The Dragon Guard Division was in charge of the Yiksha Clan, which was in charge of patrolling and defending, and Ao Yiksha was in charge. The Dragon Spur Division was in charge of the Strange Demon Clan, which was in charge of assassinating and gathering information. Apart from the four major divisions, there was also a Dragon Guard, which could also be called an internal expert. They mainly followed Wang Xian. The Dragon Guard was a Golden Swordfish Clan, and Ao Jian was in charge. In addition, there were two more special positions, the Maid and the Guard of the Palace of Dragon King. The Maid was in charge of organizing some of Wang Xian's things. Ao Shi was in charge of the duties similar to that of a young eunuch. In addition, they also had some subordinates who were in charge of the flowers and plants in the Dragon Palace, guarding some places. The entire Dragon Palace had already established a preliminary and perfect order, and the civil servants that Prime Minister Turtle had trained had also been completed. It seemed that the turtles in the Dragon Palace, who were carrying turtle shells on their backs, were enlightening the creatures of the Dragon Palace and teaching them some knowledge. Dragon King, our Ao Monster Clan has thoroughly explored the sea area within 1,000 kilometers. There are 3 immortal-level creatures in the black area on the map. One of them is a giant snake that is a superior immortal with 9 heads. At the red area on the map, there are 2 immortal-level creatures. In addition, in the Pacific Ocean deeper in the map, there are many giant squid species. Ao Yao reported to Wang Xian. Compared to the past, Ao Yao had a cold expression. Although he was very intelligent, he did not know how to handle many things. Under the teachings of the civil officials, Ao Yao was now able to take charge of his own affairs and possessed his own powerful intelligence. Upon hearing his report, Wang Xian nodded his head slowly. The resources in Jianghu were getting lesser and lesser. Wang Xian set his sights on the ocean. He had roughly investigated the ocean in the past. Now, he was officially sweeping across the ocean to build an invincible underwater dragon palace. Furthermore, Wang Xian had to start devouring and advance to the Transcendence Realm as soon as possible. Alright, bring along the Demon War Division, Thunder Division, and the 5 supernatural beings. We will sweep the area closest to us. Wang Xian pondered for a moment and ordered them. It's the Dragon King. Brother. At this moment, Xiao Yu ran in and shouted at Wang Xian. What's wrong? Wang Xian waved at them and looked at Xiao Yu with a smile. I'm going out tomorrow. Let's go out and play. Xiao Yu walked over. In half a year's time, the little girl was becoming more and more graceful. What? Are you going on a date with that Feng Lingtian? The corners of Wang Xian's mouth curled up as he asked with a smile on his face. What? There are many of us here. Brother, don't make wild guesses. Xiao Yu's face was slightly red as she said hurriedly. Alright. Go. Let one of the guards of the golden swordfish follow you. Wang Xian said dotingly. There's no need. I've already broken through to the immortal realm. Furthermore, I'm your younger sister. Who would dare to provoke me? Better safe than sorry. Chapter 8:16, Western Celestial Domain. Dragon King, Mo Qinglong requests an audience. After Xiao Yu left, Ao Shi walked into the Dragon King's hall and greeted him respectfully. Enter. Wang Xian waved his hand and Mo Qinglong immediately walked in. Dragon King, I have something to report. Speak. Regarding the Western Celestial Domain 2 months ago, according to the information we received, the Western Celestial Domain Celestials frequently appeared in search of resources. Now, they are cooperating with the Huaxia Celestial sect. The other party has a huge demand for medicinal pills. Currently, we are in contact with them. Hopefully, we can reach an agreement. Mo Qinglong reported to Wang Xian. The Eastern Immortal Sect and the Western Domain of the Gods were the two largest cultivation systems on Earth. At the same time, they were also the two most powerful forces on Earth. In the past, the East and the West occupied half of Earth. The two forces were evenly matched. The powerful forces in the world were known as the divine sects, which also continued the name of the Western continent. However, there was still a big gap between the divine sects in the world and the real divine domains. The reason why the divine sects were called the divine sects was because they were a sect. And the divine domains were a domain. In this domain, there was not only one God. If the divine domains entered the vision of the Huaxia immortal sects, it was still related to the Dragon Palace. Half a year ago, the Great War between the Dragon Palace and the Holy Medicine Immortal Sect had completely shaken the entire Earth. The experts of the Celestial Domain had come to inquire about the news. Since then, it was the first time that the Immortals and the Celestial Domain had come into contact with each other. In the following period of time, the Immortal Sects and the Celestial Domain would occasionally contact each other. It was only half a month ago that the Puppet Immortal Sect and the Greek Ancient Celestial Domain had completed a cooperation. The Greek Ancient Celestial Domain had ordered a batch of puppet items from the Puppet Immortal Sect. The Western Celestial Domain could be considered to have completely entered the eyes of the Immortal Sections. In the past 2 months, the Western Divine Realm had been in frequent contact with the Celestial Sect. There were cooperation and disputes between the two major powers. However, there were not many disputes and no celestial immortals were involved. Let's give it a try. If we can form some cooperation with the Garden of Eden Divine Realm, it will be very beneficial to us. Wang Xian nodded. There's another matter. The Huaxia sect and the Western Divine Realm are cleaning up the powerful factions one by one. Mo Qinglong continued to report to Wang Xian. Oh. Cleaning up the factions? What factions? Wang Xian asked in surprise. A group of immortal sects are preparing to clean up the other powerful factions in the subcontinent's domain. Meanwhile, the Western powerhouses are cleaning up the non-mainland factions and plundering resources. At the same time, they are also dividing up the territories and re-establishing the faction from 1,000 years ago. Mo Qinglong's eyes flickered as he spoke. Re-establishing the faction from 1,000 years ago. Wang Xian was deep in thought. In the past, the immortal sects controlled a large portion of the subcontinent's domain while the divine domain controlled a portion of the European continent's domain. The two major factions knew about the existence of each other. However, they did not interfere in each other's affairs. Now that the immortal sects had been reclusive for 1,000 years, it was time for them to rule this continent once again. Furthermore, by wiping out the other factions, they would be able to obtain a huge amount of resources. The various immortal sects wanted to use war to raise their strength quickly. Don't worry about them. We can just expand the sea area. Wang Xian smiled slowly. In order to develop, the various immortal sects wanted to conquer other powers in the world. Meanwhile, the Dragon Palace wanted to expand their territory in other sea areas as well. After Mo Qinglong's report, Wang Xian returned to the Dragon King's bedroom. Xiao Xian, we are planning to go to Sister Agaya's place for a few days tomorrow. Guan Shuqing, Lan Qingyue, and the other girls said when they saw him walking in. Alright, you guys go ahead and have fun. Coincidentally, I have some matters to take care of. After staying in the Dragon Palace for half a year, the girls were also a little bored. Wang Xian was very relieved when they went out. With Guan Shuqing around, even a superior immortal could easily suppress her. Feng Wan's strength was even more terrifying. After absorbing the blood essence of Bian Jiang too, even Wang Xian was no match for her when she took control of her body. However, before I leave, hee. Wang Xian laughed and pounced on her. Can't you be a little more shameless? Elder Fan and Tang Yinxian rolled their eyes at Wang Xian. They exchanged glances and walked out of the Dragon King Palace immediately. Guan Shuqing, Lan Qingyue, and the others were also speechless. The next morning, Wang Xian arrived at the east gate of the Dragon Palace in front of the group of girls. Behind him were Ao Qitian, Ao Qi, Ao Yao, Prime Minister Gui, and Ao Jian, the 9 dragons. At the same time, there were a group of immortals in their clan. Apart from Wang Xian, there were a total of 22 immortals. Apart from the group of immortal gods, there were also powerful members of the Dragon Palace, 500 nascent realm and 40 half-step immortal gods. Today, we will occupy the sea area in the east. Wang Xian moved and jumped onto a dragon carriage at the side. The so-called dragon carriage was made of beast bones and grade 12 metal materials. There was a dragon chair on it, and Wang Xian sat on it. The 9 dragons moved and came to the front. Their bodies moved and formed 9 green ropes that were pulled on the dragon carriage. The Imperial Emperor personally led the expedition. "Let's go!" Wang Xian shouted softly, and the 9 dragons rushed to the front. A group of members from the Dragon Palace followed behind and headed toward the sea area near the island nation. The sea area under the control of the Dragon Palace was about 500 kilometers in radius. After conquering that sea area, the Dragon Palace's territory would increase by about 200 kilometers. The 9 dragons were riding. In the Dragon Palace's territory, the aquatic creatures saw them and immediately respectfully made way for them. This was their king, and all the aquatic creatures had to obey him. This was the first thing they needed to understand after they had gained intelligence. It was also the first thing the civil officials of the Dragon Palace taught them. Wang Xian and the rest of them moved very fast. The 9 dragons swayed their bodies while more than 500 creatures followed closely behind. They were riding on the dragon carriage and were extremely domineering. "The Dragon King has arrived. The sea area is right in front of us." Ao Yao Yao's voice sounded after half an hour. He pointed to the front and said respectfully. Wang Xian nodded his head and looked around. The speed of the 9 dragons had completely slowed down. There is a special energy in this sea area. Wang Xian raised his eyebrows slightly and sensed the surrounding sea water with a puzzled expression. This energy was filled with corrosive and radioactive properties. Some weak creatures would undergo some changes if they stayed here for a long period of time. Prime Minister Gui said that this was due to the nuclear radiation, causing some changes in this sea area. However, the radiation energy is corresponding. Some creatures will die under the radiation energy, but some will evolve. This is also one of the reasons why the creatures in this sea area are stronger. There are 2 species here. One is the snake species, the Hydra domain. There are 2 immortal-level existences in the Hydra domain, one is a Hydra, and the other is a 5-headed snake. The second species is a killer crab, a 15-meter-long killer crab. Ao Yao looked at Prime Minister Gui and said to Wang Xian. Chapter 8:17, Crab General. In the Hydra territory, the Hydra possessed the strength of a superior immortal. This was an extremely terrifying race. However, with the strength of Wang Xian and the rest, they could completely surround and annihilate it. By devouring this Hydra, his strength would be able to immediately complete the first transformation of the Divine Dragon. First, subdue or destroy the race of the killer crabs. Ao Yao, you lead the way. It's the Dragon King. Ao Yao moved and directly rushed to a position on the left in front of him. Everyone followed behind him. Soon, Ao Yao stopped and vigilantly stared at the position in front of him. The sea here was about 4,000 meters deep. At the bottom of the sea was a sandy land. Under the sandy land, there were huge holes. Some of the holes were 2 meters in size, some were 5 meters in size, and some were 7 to 8 meters in size. Beside these holes, there was a plant that looked like a cactus. The plant was black in color and looked like a poisonous substance. It emitted a black glow. This is the place. Ao Yao looked at the Dragon King, with a solemn expression. he said, Dragon King, these killer crabs are hidden in the hole. The hole is very deep and their attack speed is very fast. They will arrive in an instant. Moreover, the black plant beside them will stick to its body when it comes into contact with it. It has a strong corrosive effect. Are there many killer crabs in the infant stage? Wang Xian's gaze swept across the area in front of him. Within a radius of more than 10 kilometers, there were densely packed caves. It was no wonder that there were very few creatures in this area. There are quite a few. There should be a few dozen of them. Ao Yao replied. A few dozen. Wang Xian smiled and said, let's attack. Leave it to us. Upon hearing Wang Xian's order, Ao Qi moved his body. 3 members of the Thunder Shrimp clan, Ao Qi, leaped up. The 3 immortal-level odd shrimps raised the hammers in their hands at the same time. Lightning, spread. The hammers of lightning in their hands emitted a lightning glow. Streaks of lightning condensed on them. Crackle. The hammers of lightning landed heavily on the ground. Streaks of lightning spread forward and spread across an area of 10 kilometers in an instant. The entire sandy ground turned blue. Splash. In an instant, the sound of flowing water could be heard from the ground. Claws that emitted black light crawled out of the hole, and the limbs of the killer crab that had furry and sharp thorns crawled out. The killer crab had 10 limbs, and each of its limbs was a terrifying weapon. However, the killer crab that crawled out now had 10 legs supporting its body, and it seemed like it was about to dance as it trembled. Tens of thousands of killer crabs crawled out from the pit and were performing a break dance. The scene looked extremely comical. SSS. At this moment, a strange sound was heard. Wang Xian looked over and saw a huge killer crab crawling out from the pit in the middle of the pit in anger. It had 10 legs that were 20 meters long and each leg was 1 meter thick. However, what surprised Wang Xian was that his left leg was completely different from his right leg. The right leg was like a sharp sword, shaped like a sword. The left leg was like a piece of bamboo. At the end, it was a sphere. It was as if the right leg could be used to fight, and the left leg could be used to support it. Let me destroy it. The belligerent Ao Qitian moved his body and attacked the killer crab directly. Walala. The cries of the leader of the killer crabs caused the killer crabs to slowly surround and attack him. Their legs were trembling as they looked at Wang Xian and the rest. Ao Qi revealed a faint smile. He waved the hammer of lightning in his hand toward the sky. Bolts of lightning instantly appeared in the middle of the water. The other 2 immortal-level thunder prawns also waved their hammer of lightning. A bolt of lightning entered the sand once again. The group of killer crabs that had not reached the immortal level started to dance. This scene was very amusing. Bzzz. The leader of the killer crabs saw the look of his subordinates, and his face revealed a furious expression. He stared at Ao Qitian with cold eyes, and his body stood up straight like a human. Whoosh! 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 One by one, the limbs that were like weapons attacked Ao Qitian. Go to hell, you little crab! A monstrous demonic flame rose from Ao Qitian's body, and his figure became about 8 meters long. The sea-pacifying needle in his hand directly smashed toward one of his limbs. The killer crab looked like it was 20 meters long, but in fact, it was mainly the length of his 10 limbs. His body was only about 2 meters long. Bang, bang, bang. However, when the sea-pacifying needle smashed toward it, the 4 limbs of the killer crab directly responded. One was like a sword, and the other was like a rod. They crossed and blocked Ao Qitian's attack. Then, the other 6 weapons attacked Ao Qitian directly. 6 20-meter-long weapons attacked at the same time. It was as if 6 people were attacking at the same time. Ao Qitian could not block them at all. Roar! Ao Qitian roared. Dark red scales covered his entire body. Dense demonic chi surrounded his body and blocked the killer crab's attack. Pa pa pa. However, the killer crab's body attack frequency was very terrifying. Without breaking through the defense, it attacked again more than a dozen times in an instant. Ao Qitian's hands wanted to stop it, but he was entangled by the other four limbs. Hiss. The killer crab suddenly kicked backward, leaving a 1-meter-long wound on Ao Qitian's body, and blood flowed out. The most terrifying thing was that the fresh blood quickly turned black. It was poisonous. This terrifying killer crab had a terrifying speed. Roar. Ao Qitian roared to the sky, and dense demonic chi entered the wound directly. The huge wound healed at a terrifying speed. This killer crab's attack is so strong. It's a kind of sword, a kind of cross attack like a soft stick. It's like the two mace in ancient China, and the mace is like a whip. There was a hero in ancient China who used the two mace, and one weapon in each hand would have a great advantage in battle. However, the killer crab is equivalent to 10 weapons attacking at the same time, and even Ao Qitian is at a disadvantage. Furthermore, the limbs of this killer crab are similar to that of the bone dragon. It doesn't have any elemental attacks, but it is extremely tough. It can withstand the attacks of the ocean-pacifying divine needles. Wang Xian's eyes sparkled. This killer crab was indeed very abnormal. Its limbs were already so terrifying even without any elemental attacks. If he were to take it in as his subordinate, he would definitely be able to defeat it. Wang Xian was intrigued. In the legends, there were shrimp soldiers and crab generals in the dragon palace. Now that there were shrimp, this crab could be taken in as well. If he allowed them to cultivate the demonic dragon transformation and develop towards the direction of the bone dragon, they would definitely become a powerful subordinate. There was a terrifying race in the universe, the insect race. They dominated with their terrifying numbers and powerful physical bodies. The form of this crab general was similar to that of the insect race. Chapter 8:18, Taming. The insect clan was a locust in the universe. Their most terrifying aspect was their reproduction energy. When their numbers reached a certain level, they could even devour a planet. Secondly, the leader of the insect clan had a terrifying battle form, possessing powerful physical strength. The goo originated from the insect clan. Thinking about the terrifying goo, one could understand the terror of the insect clan. The killer crab was similar to the leaders of the insect clan who had terrifying battle forms. If they cultivated the divine dragon transformation, they would definitely become a powerful battle clan that was not weaker than the demon war department. Roar roar roar. At this moment, a roar was heard. Ao Qitian's eyes were blood red, and the ocean-pacifying divine needle became 50 meters in size. He held the ocean-pacifying divine needle with both hands and swept it towards the killer crab. Pa! 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 The killer crab's 5 limbs, which were like maces, coiled around the ocean-pacifying needle. Ao Qitian's eyes were filled with fury. He smashed the ocean-pacifying needle toward the ground. Boom! A terrifying force landed on the ground at the bottom of the sea. In an instant, sand filled the sky and filled the entire sea area. At this moment, Wang Xian realized that the 10 limbs of the killer crab had all shrunk back into its body. Its 2-meter-sized body was like a turtle. How did it shrink all 10 limbs back into its body? Wang Xian was stunned for a moment. Then, he realized that the ears of the demon monkeys could hold the ocean-pacifying needle. When some creatures reached the immortal realm, they would evolve a special ability. Apparently, the killer crab had also evolved a similar ability. Bang! The killer crab that landed on the ground was not injured at all. It opened its mouth. Sizzle! 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 A sharp sound was heard. In an instant, the surrounding killer crabs rushed toward the leader of the killer crabs. Wait and attack. Wang Xian saw that Ao Qitian wanted to attack and immediately stopped him. He moved and came to Ao Qitian's side. He stared at the leader of the killer crabs curiously. The actions of the group of killer crabs were a little strange. However, what surprised Wang Xian even more was that a 3-meter-long killer crab came to the leader of the killer crabs and entered its body directly. That's right, it entered its body. Following that, the killer crabs ran over and entered its body directly. Regardless of whether it was 3 to 4 meters or a dozen meters, they easily entered the body of the killer crabs. Mother insect? This reminded Wang Xian of a leader of the insect race who could carry other insects. The killer crab in front of him could actually do it as well. This made Wang Xian exclaim in surprise. In just a few minutes, there are thousands of killer crabs. Impressive. Wang Xian's eyes lit up. He had to subdue this killer crab race. Not to mention its powerful attack power, even its ability to carry so many items made Wang Xian's eyes light up. Even if he had to subdue it and use it to store items, it was totally worth it. Wang Xian narrowed his eyes slightly and his body shook. A terrifying energy directly covered the killer crab's body. Whoosh! 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 At this moment, a group of members from the Dragon Palace flew to Wang Xian's side. More than 20 celestials stared at the leader of the killer crab coldly. In an instant, the leader of the killer crab was a little dumbfounded. It raised its head and stared at Wang Xian and the rest with its 2 eyes. Around it, the killer crabs were also lying on the ground in fear. With the might of more than 20 celestial beings, even the leader of the killer crabs was trembling in fear. Surrender or die. Wang Xian sized up the red killer crab with a smile on his face. His cold voice was transmitted into its mind. The leader of the killer crabs moved a little. One by one, its limbs slowly appeared. Following that, it quickly dug into the ground, trying to burrow away. Buzz. Prime Minister Gui saw that an immortal-level cultivator was trying to dig into the ground to escape. He waved his arm and the rich soil energy fell directly into the ground. The sand began to condense and became extremely solid. The 9 dragons swayed their bodies and circled above the leader of the killer crab. In an instant, the leader of the killer crab laid on the ground. Sizzle. 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 When the message of surrender came, Wang Xian showed a satisfied look on his face. Dragon blood essence wave directly fell on the head of the killer crab leader. Bzzz bzzz. Dragon blood essence fell on the head of the killer crab leader. It was a little terrified of the disturbance, eyes twinkling, staring around. Whoosh whoosh whoosh. At this time, a thunder spear fell in front of him. 3 killer crabs in the body directly penetrated it. Ao Qi and the 3 lightning prawns stared at the leader of the killer crabs with lightning flashing in their eyes. Sizzle. 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 The leader of the killer crabs immediately absorbed the divine dragon's blood essence. Dragon King. A voice entered Wang Xian's mind. Wang Xian revealed a smile on his face. His body moved and landed directly in front of the killer crab. The killer crab that didn't extend its limbs was only 2 meters in size. Its body wasn't very big. Wang Xian touched it with his hand. It was very hard and had lost its attributes. However, his body was even sturdier. Killer crab, level 13. Talent, Space of the Netherworld. Space of the Netherworld. The Netherworld stone is the material used to refine spatial items. Furthermore, the space hidden in his talent can still store living things. Wang Xian looked at the information of the killer crab and revealed a smile. Take your people. We're going to Hydra territory. Wang Xian said to the killer crab. Bzzz bzzz. Suddenly, the face of the killer crab showed a look of fear. It kept saying to Wang Xian. What? Are you saying that Hydra is too scary to mess with? Wang Xian heard the killer crab leader's words, slightly frowned and asked. Ci. The leader of the killer crabs nodded and kept talking to him. Cunning, wise, powerful, and terrifying. How many thousands of years has that hydra lived? Wang Xian received these messages from the killer crabs and smiled. The intelligence of this leader of the killer crabs was at most that of a 7 or 8-year-old child. In his opinion, the terrifying enemy was merely powerful. As for the cunning and intelligence, even an adult's IQ could deceive the leader of the killer crabs. You don't have to be afraid with us here. Wang Xian patted the leader of the killer crabs on the head and imparted the cultivation method of the demonic dragon transformation to it. The main thing is to forge the bones and cultivate in the direction of the bone dragon. Wang Xian reminded it and continued, bring your clansmen and we'll go over. Bzzz bzzz. The leader of the killer crab cried out, and tens of thousands of killer crabs swam towards him, lining up to enter his body. Seeing the last killer crab enter, Wang Xian was amazed again. Go, subdue or destroy the hydra. Wang Xian said to Ao Yao. The Dragon King. Ao Yao nodded. Wang Xian sat on the dragon chair of the dragon carriage. The 9 dragons rode on it and flew towards the hydra's position once again. Wang Xian did not know that this would be the first time he was facing a powerful creature that was as intelligent as a demon. Chapter 8:19, Battle of Dragons and Snakes. The Sea of Snakes was the name given to the sea ahead by the killer crab, Ao crab, because there were countless snakes there. The area of the Sea of Snakes was about 100 kilometers in radius. In this 100 kilometers, it was the territory of the Hydra. In this area, and even the surrounding area, were all within the jurisdiction of the Sea of Snakes. Because the killer crabs were tough bones, the snakes could not digest them, so the killer crabs could survive nearby. Otherwise, they would have already entered the snake's stomach. Dragon King, we have already entered the area of the Sea of Snakes. We have to be careful. As soon as they entered the area of the Sea of Snakes, Ao crab said to Wang Xian in a panic. Wang Xian nodded his head and swept his gaze forward. In the sea area ahead, he could see sea snakes every few hundred meters. Among them, there were not only sea snakes. He even found some powerful terrestrial venomous snakes. Some snakes were 2 to 3 meters long, but there were also snakes that were more than 10 meters long. Some of the snakes had triangular heads, and some of the venomous snakes had sharp teeth that were exposed to the air. There were all kinds of colors. Looking at them, it was enough to make one's scalp tingle. Why are there venomous snakes on the land? There are even some shui mang among them. Wang Xian frowned slightly and revealed a look of surprise. This place could really be considered a sea of snakes. Many of the snakes were very weak and had not even reached the innate level. However, there were also powerful pythons, weird 2-headed snakes, and even 3-headed snakes. These mutated snakes were all very powerful. Let's continue. Wang Xian scanned his surroundings. There were many sea grasses at the bottom of the sea. Some snakes were hidden within the sea grasses, and their colors were the same as the sea grasses. Hiss, hiss, hiss. Seeing Wang Xian and the rest coming over, some snakes stuck out their tongues and made a special sound in the water. Soon, this sound was heard continuously in the surroundings, as if it was a special signal. Wang Xian looked at the snakes that were spitting out their tongues curiously and sized up this strange sea of snakes. Whoosh! 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 Just as they were advancing a few thousand meters forward, suddenly, from the undergrowth at the bottom of the sea, dozens of strange snakes that were about 10 meters in size attacked them directly. Each of the 10 snakes had the strength of the Dan stage. Waves of venom shot towards them directly. Crackle! Crackle! The sound of thunder and lightning was heard. A few infant stage members of the Thunder Shrimp clan released bolts of lightning and struck the 10 snakes directly. Hiss! 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 After the 10 snakes died, the dense cries of the snakes were heard again. Moreover, the cries were even louder than before. Continue. Wang Xian was puzzled. The surrounding snakes were merely making their cries. He could not understand what they meant. They kept walking forward at a slow speed. Buzz! 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 When they were about 10 kilometers ahead, suddenly, a stream of black poisonous liquid came from all directions. The poisonous liquid entered the water and turned the surrounding seawater into poisonous liquid. The poisonous liquid surged towards them and surrounded them slowly from all directions. Buzz! At this moment, a strange demon's figure moved and a bright energy swept out in all directions. Although the strange demon was not good at healing with light, the energy carried by the light attribute was still very effective against poison. Furthermore, it was the light emitted by an immortal god. As the light swept past, all the poison disappeared. The sea of snakes is filled with danger. It's very dangerous. Ao Crab looked around vigilantly and said to Wang Xian, "Advance." Wang Xian looked at the snakes that were screaming again. He was astonished. The attack from the 10 snakes and the venom was obviously premeditated. In other words, the snakes in the sea of snakes were ambushing the intruders. If that's the case, this hydra is indeed extraordinary. Wang Xian looked around. The venomous snakes that were ambushing them earlier left quickly. They were organized and disciplined. This was definitely not something an ordinary immortal creature could do. Wang Xian had seen many immortal creatures before. Perhaps the ones with the highest intelligence and the most experience were the immortal creatures from the wild beast immortal sect. Most of the other celestial beings that he had encountered were as intelligent as Ao Crab. They definitely did not understand so many things. Whoosh! 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 Just as Wang Xian and the rest continued to move forward, the sound of water breaking could be heard. Wang Xian looked up and saw a dense cluster of poisonous fangs attacking them. In front of them, more than 100 poisonous snakes that were emitting a cold aura were staring at them. Each of the poisonous snakes was 15 meters long and lined up neatly. They had black bodies and pitch-black teeth. What they had attacked earlier was the venom that they had released. The venom was like teeth and was filled with penetrating power. 10 of them are in the infant stage. The rest are all in the Dan stage. Wang Xian sensed their strength and his eyes sparkled. Destroy them. Ao Qitian waved his arm and the group of demon monkeys attacked the 100+ snakes in front of them. Roar, kill. The group of demon monkeys moved and attacked the venomous snakes with terrifying attacks. The 100+ venomous snakes were nothing in front of the demon monkeys. One by one, the demon monkeys easily cracked the bodies of the venomous snakes. The two of them were on completely different levels of battle. Could it be that there are more powerful attacks waiting for me ahead? Wang Xian revealed a curious expression. The snakes that were ambushing them were getting stronger and stronger. This time, there were even 10 infant stage powerhouses. 10 infant stage snakes were sufficient to deal with many intruders. This is... Just as Wang Xian and the rest continued to walk forward for about 10 kilometers, they approached the center of the Sea of Snakes. At the bottom of the sea, a pitch-black semi-sphere was formed. It was a semi-sphere that was enveloped by black venom. If one wanted to enter it, one had to pass through the black venom. This venom is like a good formation. It used the venom to form a defense. It's really smart. This Hydra is really smart. After layers of defense, only immortal-level creatures can enter it. Wang Xian's face was filled with admiration. If they weren't so strong, they would have died halfway. Could there be an even stronger existence waiting for us behind this venom? Wang Xian guessed in his heart. His eyes were flashing with red and blue light. Something's not right. This is not a layer of defense. The area ahead is filled with venom. In other words, there's a sea of venom within a radius of at least 10 kilometers. The Hydra should live in the sea of venom and establish its own territory. Even if a powerful immortal god was able to barge in here, they could forget about killing him. There was absolutely no mistake. The Hydra had established a perfect defensive space. Chapter 820, Battle of Dragons and Snakes 2. No wonder A.O. Crab said that the Hydra is cunning, wise, and cunning. Just the layers of defense in this sea of snakes can tell the wisdom of the Hydra. The Hydra must have discovered our arrival by now. Wang Xian thought to himself. He looked inside with his penetrating eye. The thick poison blocked his vision. He could only vaguely see the mountains inside. Inside the mountain peak, there were poisonous snakes living inside. Wang Xian even saw more than 10 titan pythons that were more than 20 meters long. Prehistoric creatures, titan pythons. Hiss. 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 At this moment, Wang Xian vaguely heard the sound of the tongues of snakes from inside. An incomparably huge snake swam out from a mountain peak. 1 head, 2 heads, 5 heads, a total of 5 heads. A hint of surprise flashed across Wang Xian's eyes. In his blurry vision, numerous huge snakes were gathered around the 5-headed snake. This should be the 5-headed snake that Ao Yao and the rest have detected. It has the strength of a middle-level immortal. Are there some lower-level immortals other than the 9-headed snake and the 5-headed snake? Wang Xian was a little uncertain. This sea of snakes was not simple. If there were only 2 immortal-level creatures, he would not dare to believe it. They are ambushing us. Wang Xian could not help but sigh at their wisdom when he saw the huge poisonous snakes entering the soil. However, these toxins and ambushes are useless to us. Wang Xian revealed a cold smile and stood up. Enter the area. Prime Minister Gui, seal the ground directly. Ao Qi, attack the ground with lightning. It's the Dragon King. Prime Minister Gui, Ao Qi, and the rest nodded their heads. After entering the poison zone, the poison in the area wasn't too harmful to them. Attack! Wang Xian shouted coldly. Prime Minister Gui's turtle shell was covered in a burst of earthy yellow light. The light spread to the front at a speed visible to the naked eye. The entire ground was as solid as steel. Crack! Crack! In an instant, 3 thunder hammers landed heavily on the ground. The terrifying thunder and lightning penetrated the ground. Wang Xian swept his gaze across the area. 70 to 80 infant stage creatures were killed by the thunder and lightning. Damn it! Who dares to trespass into our Lord Baqi's territory? The sudden attack caused the 5-headed snake that was entrenched on the mountain peak not far away to reveal a look of shock. It roared loudly. Eh! The human language, the Japanese language. The 8-headed snake. Wang Xian revealed a look of surprise as he stared at the 5-headed snake. I am the Dragon King of the Dragon Palace. I want the 8-headed snake to come out and submit to me. Dragon King of the Dragon Palace? You are the Dragon King of the Dragon Palace in China. The 5 heads of the 5-headed snake were exactly the same. A human-like shock could be seen in their blood-red, cold eyes. Huh? Wang Xian was even more surprised. This undersea creature actually knew his name. The 8-headed snake is the mythical beast of the island nation. Not only does this 5-headed snake know the human language, but it also knows its own name. In other words, it interacts with humans. A creature from the sea interacts with humans. This is really unexpected. Wang Xian was thinking about the myths and legends about the island nation. The 8-limbed snake was rumored to have 8 heads and 8 tails. However, there were clearly 9 heads here. It should be the evolution of the 8-limbed snake and the addition of an extra head. The 8-limbed snake in the myths could change the color of the world. Presumably, the current 8-limbed snake would be even more terrifying. It should not be something an ordinary superior immortal could deal with. Call your master 8-limbed snake over. Wang Xian looked at the 5-headed snake and said coldly to it. This five-headed snake only had a huge tail. Its entire body was about 50 meters long, and each of its head was 20 meters long. Dragon King of the Dragon Palace, what are you doing trespassing my eight-limbed snake territory? When Wang Xian had just finished speaking, a head with 2 to 3 meters long blood-red pupils extended out from a huge mountain peak 5 kilometers in front of him. It stared at Wang Xian coldly. The head that was revealed was about 7 to 8 meters in size. One could imagine that this eight-limbed snake was about 100 meters in size. The language of China. Upon hearing his words, Wang Xian was shocked again. You actually know the language of China and even know that I am the Dragon King of the Dragon Palace. Ha, I am the god of the eight-limbed snake, the supreme god. I naturally know about the Dragon King. The terrifying head scanned the surroundings of Wang Xian. He closed his eyes and heaved a sigh of relief. The eight-limbed great god, the supreme god. When Wang Xian heard the words of the eight-limbed great snake, he thought of the gods in the West. Different from the gods of the immortal sects in Huaxia, the powerhouses in the West liked to deify themselves. They claimed that they were omnipotent and established a divine sect to develop believers. Other than the descendants of the gods, the rest were all disciples and servants of the gods. They served the gods for generations. The hierarchy was strict. This eight-limbed snake was obviously imitating the Western powerhouses. It proclaimed itself as a god, established a divine sect, and had divine servants. There should be some believers in the island nation. Wang Xian stared at the eight-limbed snake with a solemn expression. This was an extremely intelligent and powerful undersea creature. Furthermore, it had its own power. This was the first non-human creature that Wang Xian had encountered that was filled with intelligence. Since you know about me, you should submit obediently. Wang Xian flew up from the dragon throne and transformed into the body of a divine dragon. He stared at the eight-headed hydra coldly. Dragon King, I am the supreme god. Is it possible for me to submit to you? I, Ba Qi, have lived for more than 2,000 years. I have witnessed the vicissitudes of history and the rise and fall of our country. It is impossible for me to submit to you. Furthermore, you do not have the qualifications to make me submit to you. Dragon King, I advise you to leave this place. A hint of viciousness flashed across the eyes of the Ba Qi serpent as it roared in a deep voice. Since I am here, how can I leave this place so easily? All the water tribes in the world are my subjects. All the water domains in the world are the domain of the Dragon Palace. Wang Xian revealed a dignified and domineering expression as he stared at the eight-headed hydra coldly. How could he leave? Even if this eight-headed hydra was as intelligent as a demon, even if its strength had reached the level of a superior immortal, Wang Xian was still unafraid. With the strength of the Dragon Palace, it was more than enough to subdue and even destroy the eight-headed hydra. Wang Xian was not sure if his current force was invincible in the entire earth. However, he was still confident that he could be one of the best. Dragon King, I, the eight-limbed snake, am not someone to be trifled with. Boom! 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 The eight-limbed snake let out an angry roar when it heard Wang Xian's words. In an instant, heads shot into the sky one by one. The 9 heads were 50 meters long from the top of the 1,000-meter-tall mountain. Flames. Black flames emerged from its mouth. Black flames were dancing in its blood-red eyes. This is demonic flame, magic attribute. Chapter 821, Battle of Dragons and Snakes 3. Out of the 9 heads, the one in the middle was the largest. It was different from the 5-headed snake. The 9 heads of the 8-headed snake were slightly different. Some of the heads were decayed as if they were corroded by a powerful poison. The 9 heads were all emitting terrifying demonic flames. In this area surrounded by the green and black poisonous water, the 8-headed snake was like a world-destroying snake. Wang Xian moved his body and attacked Ba Qi at a terrifying speed. The rest of the members of the Dragon Palace also moved. Among them, 3 flood dragons attacked the 5-headed snake directly. "Damn it, Dragon King, let's fight one-on-one if you have the guts." When the 9-headed snake saw nearly 20 immortals attacking him, including the Dragon King, a superior immortal, its eyes revealed a hint of embarrassment. "One-on-one. If you lose in a one-on-one fight, so what?" Wang Xian's face turned cold. The 6 flood dragons immediately came to the opposite position and blocked the Hydra's route. "If I want to escape, you can't stop me." The 3 heads stared at Wang Xian's position while the rest of the heads scanned their surroundings. Their blood-red eyes were sparkling. "Unless you hide on land, you won't be able to hide in the ocean." A cold smile appeared on Wang Xian's face as he stared at the snake and said in a deep voice, "I really didn't expect your Dragon King's influence to be so strong. Half a year ago, you only revealed 18 immortals. Now, you have more than 20 of them." The 8-headed snake glanced at the members of the Dragon Palace with fear in its heart. "If you submit to me and join the Dragon Palace, I can spare your life." Wang Xian stared at the 8-headed Hydra and said coldly, "Don't even think about it. How can I, the 8-headed Hydra, become someone else's subordinate? I am a god who is high and mighty." The 9-headed Hydra's huge head twisted and opened its largest mouth. It roared in unison. "Since that's the case, kill." Wang Xian moved his body and a terrifying flame quickly condensed in the air. He attacked the 8-headed Hydra directly. "Among the gods, I am invincible." The head in the middle roared loudly. One of the heads on its left opened its huge mouth and a stream of black liquid met the flame directly. Sizzle. 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 The sound of burning could be heard. Wang Xian's expression did not change as he flew over directly. Boom. 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 At this moment, the mountain under the 8-headed Hydra cracked open. Numerous terrifying tails swept toward Wang Xian directly. The 9 tails came with an intense whistling sound and arrived in an instant. Wang Xian raised his dragon claws to meet them. Earth shields appeared around his body to block the attacks of the other tails. Crackle. Boom. Boom. At the side, streaks of lightning emitted blue rays in the pitch-black poisonous water space. Ao Qitian and 2 demonic monkeys of the immortal level turned the ocean-pacifying divine needle into the size of 50 meters and smashed it towards the 3 heads. Hiss, hiss, hiss. A corroded tongue moved, and the entire area of black seawater suddenly surrounded the lightning. Bzzzt, bzzzt, bzzzt. A scalp-numbing sound was heard, and the bolts of lightning were actually corroded by the poisonous liquid. Hiss, hiss, this is my territory. Here, I can unleash 150% of my strength. Dragon King, I advise you to get out of our territory, or else I'll start a massacre. The cold voice of the corroded head rang out. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. However, what responded to it were white shadows. 5 white shadows appeared at the position of its body, and a terrifying claw directly cut open its huge skin and flesh. The 5 white shadows left 5 10-meter-long wounds, each of which was about a meter deep. Roar! Damn it! The 2 heads let out an angry roar. The surrounding venom surged toward the spot where they were injured. The wounds healed at a speed visible to the naked eye. What? Ao Yao and the 4 subordinates were shocked. What a terrifying recovery ability. Wang Xian squinted his eyes slightly. His dragon claw grabbed a tail that was swinging toward him. Crack! Crack! The powerful and sharp dragon claw slowly penetrated one of the 8-headed dragon's tails. Roar! The 8-headed dragon was in pain. Its 9 mouths were wide open and could easily swallow an elephant. The terrifying demonic flames attacked them directly. Demonic flames were different from flames. Demonic flames had the effects of corrosion and poison. Coupled with the surrounding poison, the demonic flames were even more powerful. However, the current Wang Xian was almost at the peak of the upper-level immortal. Furthermore, he was a divine dragon of the 5 elements. Water blast wave. Wang Xian's body trembled. The seawater outside surged violently as he rushed towards the area of the poison. I have used a formation to seal this area. It's wishful thinking if I want to disperse the poison here. I'm practically an immortal being here. Ba Qi didn't care about the injuries on his body at all. He was 100 meters tall and had 9 heads. It would be extremely difficult to kill him. Furthermore, with his life force, he could definitely exhaust his opponent to death. The powerful seawater rushed over, but the poison didn't leak out at all. Wang Xian frowned slightly. He didn't expect this Hydra to know about formations. You won't die. Let's see how you won't die after I've absorbed all the venom here. Wang Xian's body moved for a while, and his entire body slowly turned green. With a wave of his dragon claw, seeds were sprinkled around him. 10,000 poison seeds. 10,000 poison seeds were a bunch of precious seeds obtained from the Holy Doctor and Holy Medicine sect. These seeds were also used by wood attribute cultivators to fight. The sect of Holy Medicine and Holy Medicine had a few immortals who mainly used poisonous trees to attack with various poisonous plants. The 10,000 poisonous seeds were one of them. The more toxins they absorbed, the stronger they would be. The dense azure dragon energy entered the seeds directly. The 10,000 poisonous seeds grew at a terrifying speed. In just a short second, thousands of white vines that were thousands of meters long appeared in the surroundings. The venom in the surroundings had obviously become much thinner. Damn it! The blood-red pupils of the 8-headed snake changed. 5 of its heads instantly attacked Wang Xian. He shouted coldly. Numerous poisonous vines were rapidly wrapping around the 8-headed snake. Get lost! Its 2 tails met the dense vines directly. Pa pa pa! The vines were soft and coiled around the body of the 8-headed snake. Wood-fire mass concealment. Wood-fire mass concealment was a combined battle technique of the 2 great immortal sections. When the 2 fused together, it could unleash twice the amount of terrifying attacks. Hong! In an instant, raging flames burned. The most terrifying thing was that the burning flames of the vines crazily drilled into the body of the 8-headed snake. Bastard! Ba Qi let out a miserable cry and twisted its huge body. The terrifying flames were burning at the bottom of the sea, covering its 3 tails. Under the siege of the members of the Dragon Palace, the 4 heads could only defend passively. The remaining heads and tails that were fighting against Wang Xian only had 60% of their peak combat strength. The gap between them and Wang Xian was too big. Chapter 822, Battle of Dragons and Snakes 4. The gap was too huge. Divine dragons were already top-notch existences of the same level. Wang Xian was also a rare divine dragon of the 5 elements. Even though the 8-headed dragon was gifted, he could still be easily suppressed. Poison explosion. The 8-headed dragon's body was burning with flames. It was suffering from the attacks of lightning, wind blades, earth spikes, and strange demons. It twisted its body in anger. It opened its mouth and spat out balls that were half a meter in size from its stomach. Water shield. Wang Xian's expression did not change. A huge shield appeared in front of him. Crack! Crack! The water shield cracked instantly. Black poisonous arrows shot towards him. The black poisonous arrows were extremely terrifying. They were filled with the power of corrosion. Earth shield. Wang Xian waved his dragon claw and another 20-meter-sized earth shield appeared in front of him. Ah! At this moment, a scream came from the side. An immortal-level thunder shrimp was hit by a poisonous arrow, and his entire arm turned dark green instantly. As expected of the superior immortal-level octahedron. Even with such a huge gap, it can still cause damage to the members of the dragon palace. Wang Xian spat out the wood dragon bead and the fire dragon bead. Kill. The wood dragon bead revolved rapidly around the fire dragon bead. The dense green dragon aura caused the flames on the fire dragon bead to smash toward the 8-headed hydra as if it had added an accelerant. Bang! A tail swept toward the fire dragon bead. Roar! The fire dragon bead let out an angry roar and suddenly turned into a huge dragon head. The dragon head bit on the tail. In just a short moment, more than half of the tail was bitten off. Damn it, 9-headed snake shadow. 8-headed hydra was in pain again, and its eyes were filled with madness as it shook its body. The surrounding venom surged crazily towards it, and one after another, demonic shadows that looked exactly like him appeared and attacked the surrounding area. Boom boom boom. The earth shook and the mountains shook. Even in the ocean of 5,000 to 6,000 meters, the entire seabed was like an earthquake, and the powerful 9-headed snake shadow covered the surrounding area. The demon shadow was covered with corrosion and venom. Release your defense behind me. Prime Minister Gui shouted softly, and the turtle shell on his back flew directly in front of him. The turtle shell instantly grew to about 20 meters, and the members of the Dragon Palace arrived behind him one by one. The wind shield, the dense demonic chi, the gate of lightning, and the ring sword defense set up powerful defenses in front of the turtle shell. Bang! 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 The demonic shadow attacked, and the terrifying attack penetrated through the layers of defense. Wang Xian also built up layers of defense in front of himself. Kill! Clang! The water dragon pearl transformed into a water sword and attacked one of the heads. Destroy! One of the heads opened its huge mouth, and thick demonic liquid gushed out from its mouth. With all kinds of negative attributes, it went up against the water sword. The water flow on the water sword kept on fluctuating. Streams of water energy blocked the demonic liquid. Whoosh! The water sword penetrated through and entered one of the heads. Sword explosion! Wang Xian shouted softly. The water sword instantly exploded into small pieces. Hiss, hiss, hiss. A horrifying scream was heard. One of the heads of Ba Qi was penetrated by countless water swords. Ah, Lord 8-headed snake, save me! At this moment, a scream came from the side. 8-headed snake turned its head and a cold glint flashed in its eyes. Ah! Sharp claws cut off the last 2 heads of 8-headed snake. Dragon King. The remaining 8 heads of 8-headed snake let out a low roar. Wang Xian smiled coldly and moved to the side of the 5-headed snake's corpse. He opened his huge mouth. Ding! Devouring the 5-headed snake has increased the dragon energy by 34 million. The system notification came. Wang Xian stared at the 8-headed snake with a hint of greed in his eyes. As long as he could devour the 8-headed snake, he would be able to level up immediately. When he saw Wang Xian's gaze, the 8-headed snake could not help but shiver. Dragon King, just you wait. The 8-headed snake shouted. Under Wang Xian's astonished gaze, his huge body actually shrank and finally took on the appearance of a human. However, this human's appearance was very strange. He was holding a beast bone with a human head hanging on it. He had 9 heads and one of them was hanging high up. His body was extremely weak and every head had a middle-aged face. His face was long and thin and looked extremely strange. He even had 9 arms and looked like a monster no matter how one looked at him. After transforming into human form, the 8-limbed snake moved and dived into a mountain peak below. Go after him. Wang Xian did not hesitate. Letting go of a superior immortal with such high intelligence would definitely be a future trouble for him. His eyes flashed with a blue and red glow. His gaze locked onto the 8-limbed snake's body as he followed closely behind. There are actually so many tunnels. What a cunning rabbit with 3 burrows. Wang Xian looked down and followed closely behind. The vengeful souls won't disperse. Dragon King, are you going to kill them all as soon as possible? Ba Qi's expression changed drastically as he roared loudly. Surrender or die. You only have these 2 choices. Wang Xian waved his arm and a fireball shot towards him. At this moment, they were in the underground tunnel. Ba Qi's expression changed slightly. With a wave of his arm, he crashed into another tunnel at the side. With a wave of his arm, the tunnel collapsed immediately. However, Wang Xian's eye of penetration could easily penetrate through some soil and sand. He broke through and followed closely behind. Ba Qi's expression changed again. His speed was not slow, but he could not get rid of Wang Xian at all. The 9 dragons with the green dragon attribute could also follow behind and lock onto him. This made Ba Qi's expression extremely awkward. The power of the Dragon Palace was far beyond his imagination. You want me to submit? Impossible. The 9 heads gritted their teeth and fled into the distance. Wang Xian frowned and followed closely behind the 8-headed snake. In terms of endurance, a dragon's patience was definitely not something that an 8-headed snake could compare to. Little 9-headed snake, don't make me lose my patience. When I catch you, I will cut off your heads one by one. Wang Xian followed behind and spoke slowly. Escape? There was no way he could escape. Unless a superior immortal came over to help him. However, it was obvious that he didn't have a companion of a superior immortal. The 9 heads of the 8-limbed snake broke out in a cold sweat. Their faces were extremely pale. I am a god. I have been roaming the world for 1,000 years. How can I submit to others? Even if I commit harakiri, I will not submit. I didn't ask you to submit. I will devour you as soon as I catch you. After I devour you, I will be able to break through. Wang Xian followed closely behind with a smile. What a pervert. The 9 faces of the 8-limbed snake were extremely embarrassed. With a move of one of his arms, poisonous substances within a radius of 4 to 5 kilometers appeared. He sped up and rushed to the right. The 8-headed 9's actions were completely within Wang Xian's sight. He changed his direction and ignored the poison as he chased after it. How did you still discover me? A head was facing Wang Xian as he shouted in disbelief. Chapter 823, Tamed Ba Qi. Wang Xian chuckled and stared at Ba Qi coldly. He didn't say anything and followed closely behind. Ba Qi gritted his teeth and moved for a while. The beast bone staff in his hand emitted a black demonic shadow. In an instant, thousands of identical figures appeared. The demonic shadow avatars flew in all directions. Wang Xian swept his gaze across them. His gaze was still fixated on the real body. Now, Wang Xian realized that it was a wise choice to modify the penetrating eye back then. Seeing that Wang Xian was still following closely behind, the 8-headed snake continued to flee with a dark expression. Time passed slowly. Soon, 5 to 6 hours had passed. The 9 foreheads of the 8-headed snake were covered in cold sweat. Looking at Wang Xian and the members of the Dragon Palace who were chasing closely behind, they gritted their teeth and continued to flee forward. His eyes flickered as he looked around, looking for the best escape location. Fortunately, they were in the sea. The area was larger than the land and the terrain was complicated. It was suitable for escaping. If they were on land, he would have been caught up. Wang Xian followed behind without changing his expression. The 8-limbed giant snake had 9 heads and could find the most suitable direction in the fastest time possible. On this point, one had to admit that the 8-headed beast was a demonic beast with extraordinary talent. It had powerful intelligence, turned into a human, and had terrifying strength and means. It was indeed worthy of being called a god and had believers. Is that the direction of the Dragon Palace? When Wang Xian saw that the direction of his escape had actually changed to the direction of the Dragon Palace, a thick smile appeared on his face. Dragon King, you will never be able to catch up to me. Let's just forget about it. We will not interfere in each other's business in the future. Dragon King, I am willing to give you a portion of my collection. Our feud will end here. Dragon King, can't we discuss this? More than 10 minutes later, the eight-limbed snake was getting anxious and kept shouting at Wang Xian. Wang Xian ignored him and followed closely behind him. He looked ahead and revealed a smile. Dragon King, if you push me too far, I will perish together with you. After running for a few more minutes, the eight-limbed snake roared furiously. His 9 heads were filled with anxiety. He had been running for 4 to 5 hours but still could not shake it off. If he continued to run, his speed would decrease. This made him anxious. His 9 pairs of eyes were spinning non-stop. Xiaolan, come and stop it. When he was within 10 kilometers of the Dragon Palace, Wang Xian shouted softly. Kun, who had been staying around the Dragon Palace, swayed slightly when he heard Wang Xian's voice. His speed was extremely fast and his body size was terrifying. 150 meters was definitely the largest existence on Earth. Its skin was dozens of meters thick. If it wanted to kill this Kun, even if 7 or 8 nuclear bombs landed on its body, they might not be able to kill it. Its body moved, and its eyes, which were the size of a house, reflected everything 10 kilometers in front of it. The Kun's body moved, and it swam directly toward the 8 points. The Kun's body was incomparably huge, and its speed was not slower than the 9 flood dragons. In an instant, it appeared in front of the 8 points. Ba Qi, who was desperately running for his life, almost wet his pants when he saw Kun suddenly appear in front of him. It had a terrifying 150-meter tall body, a gigantic mouth, and terrifying eyes. Buzz! A gray area appeared on Kun's head, and its body directly charged toward Ba Qi. Ba Qi's expression changed slightly. Looking at the gray area, he had a bad premonition. He raised the beast bone staff in his hand and pointed forward. The 3-meter thick corrosive poison instantly formed a 1,000-meter-long poison pillar and attacked the Kun. The terrifying poison sizzled as it landed on the Kun's body. Its skin was instantly corroded 5 meters deep and 10 meters wide. What? However, Ba Qi suddenly let out a scream. There wasn't a single drop of blood on this terrifying wound. The Kun didn't even feel the slightest pain. A terrifying force instantly struck over. Boom! It was as if the entire Kun's strength was concentrated at the point of impact. This force was comparable to a full-strength strike from a middle-level immortal. And this full-strength strike was also a physical attack. In an instant, Ba Qi's body instantly collapsed. His eyes almost popped out. If it was not for his terrifying physical body and the strength of a high-level immortal, even if he was a middle-level immortal, he would have been reduced to meat paste under this impact. This terrifying creature could concentrate all the strength in its body into one point and release it. If this Kun reached 10,000 meters, it could even hit the earth. This was also the terror of the Kun. You can die now. Wang Xian saw the octahedron flying towards him. His sharp dragon claws clawed at its head. One of the octahedron's heads turned around. Feeling the threat of death, his expression changed drastically. How could the Dragon Palace be so terrifying? Plop! His expression changed drastically. Following that, he made a move that stunned Wang Xian. In the air, he resisted the urge to spit out a mouthful of blood. He landed on the bottom of the sea and knelt down. I surrender, I surrender. Wang Xian was slightly stunned. He extended his hand and the members of the Dragon Palace surrounded him. A look of fear flashed across Ba Qi's eyes. He squeezed out a smile and said, I surrender, Dragon King. I surrender. I will do whatever you want me to do in the future. Didn't you say that you would rather die than surrender? Are you a god who is high and mighty? A teasing look flashed across Wang Xian's eyes. Now, you can commit suicide by digging your own stomach. Dragon King, I surrender sincerely. I have already enjoyed all the things that I should enjoy. In the future, I will serve the Dragon Palace and fight for the Dragon King. We will destroy the Western Sea God Sea region and unify the sea. Dragon King, you are mighty. Ba Qi said to Wang Xian with a mischievous look. Wang Xian stared at Ba Qi with a twinkle in his eyes. There was a hesitant look on his face. Ba Qi looked at Wang Xian with a feeling as if he wanted to devour him. His expression changed. Dragon King, I have many underlings who can join the Dragon Palace. In the future, I will fight for you. Please give me a chance, Dragon King. The eight-limbed snake said hurriedly, furthermore, I have collected many treasures over the past 2,000 years. If you kill me, these treasures will be gone. Give me a chance to serve you. He shouted loudly. The longer he lived, the more afraid he would be of death. The eight-limbed snake was the same. He was afraid that he would be swallowed by Wang Xian, so he shouted loudly. All right. In the end, Wang Xian decided not to swallow the eight-limbed snake. He was still lacking more than 10 million dragon qi. As long as he had some treasures, he would be able to achieve a breakthrough. The eight-limbed snake was still useful. Besides him and Shu Qing, there were no other upper-level immortal-level members in the Dragon Palace. Most importantly, the eight-limbed snake had lived for a long time and understood a lot of things. His intelligence and knowledge were even higher than Prime Minister Gui. If he had not met him, he would have been an invincible existence in his territory. Chapter 824, Cooperation. There were millions and millions of snakes in the Sea of Snakes. However, there was one thing that these snakes were of little value. They didn't have any special abilities and couldn't be compared to the lightning of the thunder shrimp, the swordplay of the golden swordfish, and the violent attacks of the demon monkeys. Why are there poisonous snakes on land in your Sea of Snakes? Wang Xian thought of the poisonous snakes in the Sea of Snakes and asked curiously. Dragon King, in my territory, there are the most poisonous creatures on earth. All the poisonous snakes and even the poisonous scorpions have been captured by me into the Sea of Snakes. They are mainly used to quench the poison to increase my toxicity and help me in my cultivation. Unfortunately, the most poisonous poison now can only be used on a mid-level immortal. Ba Qi said to Wang Xian with a smile. Quench the poison. Wang Xian looked at the poison on the arm of the thunder prawn. Its entire arm was pitch black. If Ao Qi and the other thunder prawn had not used lightning to block the poison, the thunder prawn would have been poisoned to death. Hee hee. Ba Qi looked at the thunder prawn at the side. One of his arm turned into a poison and entered his body along his pale arm to suck out the poison. That's right. I raised all kinds of poisonous snakes to be poisoned. I have developed a method to extract the poison. Even if an immortal is careless, he will be poisoned to death. Ba Qi said with some pride. Ao Yao, can you smear poison on your claws? Wang Xian looked at Ao Yao and asked him. As long as it's not corrosive poison, yes. Ao Yao replied. If you apply poison on your claws, it can increase your lethality by a level. Even those who are half a step away from the level of celestials can assassinate celestials. Wang Xian's eyes lit up. Poison was very useful. It could be used to poison a sword, poison a weapon, poison fog, etc. It was definitely a terrifying killing weapon in battle. As for using poison, it wasn't that it wasn't fair. In a battle between martial artists, the victor would be the king. As long as one could win, one would be the king. The history books were written by the victors, and those who died would be the losers. Therefore, poison was very useful. Why don't the Dragon Palace set up a poison department in the future? In the ancient dynasties, there were not only civil servants and generals, but also some technical personnel. Technical personnel were also extremely useful. This venomous snake clan could become technical personnel and be used to refine poisons in the future. Wang Xian stared at Ba Qi. Seeing his gaze, Ba Qi couldn't help but shiver. Swallow this. Wang Xian stretched out his hand and passed a drop of blood essence to Ba Qi. Ba Qi stared at the blood essence and his breathing became heavier. The transformation of a snake into a dragon was something that all snakes dreamed of. However, when he sensed the special energy contained within, Ba Qi's expression changed drastically. He looked extremely embarrassed. The submission that he wanted was not to be controlled or become a slave. Otherwise, he would not even have the chance to regain his freedom in the future. 1, 2. Wang Xian stared at the 8-headed snake and counted indifferently. I'll swallow, I'll swallow. The 8-headed snake's expression changed. In the face of life and freedom, he would naturally choose life. The 8-headed snake gritted its teeth and absorbed the blood essence. Something's not right. When Wang Xian sensed that the 8-headed snake was being controlled, his expression changed slightly. All 9 of your heads are separate life forms. You're really cunning. Wang Xian stared at him coldly with a cold expression on his face. Since that's the case, I shall kill the rest of your 8 heads. No, no, no. At this moment, his other 8 heads shook their heads in horror. Give them to us. Give them to us to consume as well. Humph. Wang Xian snorted coldly. He finally understood why the 8-headed snake possessed such intelligence. The 9 heads were all individual lives. They shared the same thoughts, but their learning speed was 9 times faster than other living creatures. If he controlled one of them, the other 8 would not be controlled. Wang Xian squeezed out 8 drops of blood essence and placed them in his mouth. They then absorbed it. After absorbing it, the 9 heads immediately lowered their heads and greeted respectfully, "Greetings, Dragon King." Yes. In the future, when the Dragon Palace establishes the Poison Dragon tribe, you will be in charge of refining all kinds of poisons. Yes, Dragon King. The 8-headed heads bowed respectfully. Now, go and bring all your subordinates here. Build a nest near the Dragon Palace. Wang Xian continued to give him orders. Yes, Dragon King. I want to bring some of the items that I have collected over. In addition, there are still some matters that need to be dealt with on land. Please give me a few days, Dragon King. Ba Qi said respectfully. All right. Wang Xian nodded. Once he absorbed his blood essence, he would be 100% loyal. There would definitely not be any betrayal. Therefore, Wang Xian was not worried at all. Although this expedition did not allow him to achieve a breakthrough in his strength, it was a significant improvement for the entire Dragon Palace. Especially Ba Qi, he would be of great use to the future development of the Dragon Palace. Let's go back. The Dragon Palace had 2 new immortal god-level members. Wang Xian was very satisfied with the battle this time. He moved his body and flew directly toward the Dragon Palace. Kun, who was at the side, shook his body slightly. The gray flesh on his body that had been destroyed was wriggling slowly. A wound that was 5 meters deep and 10 meters wide would definitely be a devastating blow to other creatures. However, to Kun, who was more than 150 meters tall, it was just a small wound. There was not even any blood flowing out. The strong points of the Kun were their physical defense, strong vitality, and unparalleled strength. They didn't possess elemental attacks, but they had an unparalleled attack method, which was to hit with strength. They could instantly burst out a terrifying strength and hit a single point. This was the most terrifying attack method of the Kun. When its strength reached a certain level, it could destroy everything. Whoosh! Whoosh! Wang Xian and the members of the Dragon Palace returned to the Dragon Palace. Dragon King. Mo Qinglong came up to welcome him directly. How is it? Wang Xian asked directly. During this period of time, Mo Qinglong was discussing the cooperation with the Garden of Eden. Dragon King, the Garden of Eden wants someone with weight to go over and talk to them. Mo Qinglong said with a slightly bitter tone. His strength had yet to reach the level of an immortal. Oh. We're just telling them the conditions. What else do we need to talk about? Wang Xian raised his eyebrows. He didn't care too much about the success of this collaboration. It was just an attempt. After all, the other party was from the Western Divine Realm. Both parties had no understanding of each other at all. They directly asked for a person of importance to come over. I didn't even meet their god. Mo Qinglong said bitterly. Contact them. I'll go over and talk to them. Wang Xian thought for a moment and said. Chapter 825, Gods. In the Western European continent, there were a total of 7 major divine domains: the Garden of Eden Divine Domain, the Ancient Greek Divine Domain, the Golden Pagoda Divine Domain, the Northern European Divine Domain, the Roman Divine Domain, the Dark Divine Domain, and the Holy Blood Divine Domain. There were quite a few gods in each divine domain. They were different from the immortal sections. These gods were high and mighty, and they had their own disciples. Their levels were almost the same: lower gods, middle gods, and upper gods. The power of the divine realm was much stronger than that of the immortal sections. Each divine realm had more than 10 or even 20 immortal gods. It was even said that the strongest divine realm in Northern Europe had more than 30 gods. Overall, if Wang Xian had not destroyed the Cauldron of Yu and the Holy Doctor and Holy Medicine Immortal Sect, the difference between the powers of the immortal sects and the divine realm was not that great. However, Wang Xian had destroyed 2 cauldrons at once, causing the power of the divine territory to be slightly stronger than that of the celestial sect. The Garden of Eden divine territory could be considered a relatively strong divine territory. Moreover, their divine territory was suitable for the growth of plants and had many spiritual herbs. When he was collaborating with the celestial sect in the Western divine territory, Wang Xian had considered collaborating with the Garden of Eden. Once the collaboration was successful, the Dragon Palace would be able to increase the number of celestials by at least 10. However, he did not have much hope for the collaboration to be successful. Dragon King, we have contacted the people from the Garden of Eden. They said that if they want to talk, they would like you to head to the island country. Their god will be there to take care of things. On the second day, Mo Qinglong said to Wang Xian. Island country, is it? Let's go. Wang Xian thought for a moment before nodding. Activate the floating island and head to the island country. Get ready, we will head there now. It's the Dragon King. Mo Qinglong nodded. Wang Xian moved his body and flew towards the sea above the Dragon Palace. He landed on the floating island beside him. The floating island was moving at a very fast speed. It was not too far from here to the island country. Whoosh! 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 Wang Xian stood on the island. Suddenly, he saw a group of people flying past in the sky not far away. Among them, there were 4 to 5 immortals leading the group. Huh! Wang Xian had a surprised look on his face. Dragon King, they are people from the celestial sect of Jianghu. Recently, the celestial sect of Jianghu has joined forces to wipe out the forces in the subcontinent. Mo Qinglong explained to him. Wang Xian nodded slowly. He had heard from a Jiaya a few days ago. After the celestial sect of Huaxia forbade them from attacking, they were short of resources. Subsequently, some celestial sects joined forces and decided to attack other forces. Destroying these forces would allow them to obtain huge amounts of resources. In just a month's time, the celestial sect of the pugilistic world had conquered more than half of the subcontinent. Many forces with celestial beings had been wiped out. The might of the Huaxia immortal sect had once again spread across the entire world. The mysterious eastern country, which had been sleeping, had awakened once again. All the forces that had immortals in the subcontinent had been wiped out. Those who had surrendered had surrendered. The floating island was close to the imperial capital of the island nation. A huge snowy mountain in the distance could be seen clearly. Contact them, Wang Xian said to Mo Qinglong. Dragon King, we have already contacted them. Their people will be here to fetch us soon. Mo Qinglong replied. Okay. Wang Xian nodded. After waiting for about 10 minutes, the two of them flew over on their Pegasus. The two of them were dressed in golden continental European knight attire and they were equipped with knight swords. They exuded a pure continental aura. The Pegasus was extremely white and was at least 3 meters tall. It exuded an innate aura. This must be the Dragon King. Please follow us. The two knights gave a standard knight's bow and said to Wang Xian. Okay. Wang Xian nodded. The two of them mounted their horses and flew directly towards the snow mountain. Wang Xian followed behind them. Ao Jian and the gold race were followed by the two immortals. Mo Qinglong was at the back. They came to a small mountain peak beside the snow mountain. Cherry trees covered the entire mountain peak, making it very beautiful. There were houses halfway up the mountain. Two knights landed on a platform on a mountain peak and jumped down directly. Dragon King, please. Wang Xian nodded. His gaze swept across the surroundings. There were many wooden houses that were unique to the island nation. He walked straight to the front. Ha, Dragon King, please come in. When he came to a room in the middle, a hearty laughter could be heard. Wang Xian entered the room and saw more than a dozen people sitting inside. 11 men and 2 women were among them. 6 men wore divine crowns on their heads and divine staffs on their sides. They were extremely luxurious. 2 women had flower baskets and holy bottles beside them. Hello, Dragon King. I am known as the God of Light, the right hand of God. This is the God of flowers, the God of wood, the God of heaven, the God of trees, the angel. One of the white-bearded old men was emitting a faint glow. He introduced to Wang Xian with a smile on his face. Hello, everyone. Wang Xian smiled faintly and sat down at the seat that they had indicated. His gaze landed on 5 middle-aged and old men. These 5 men were dressed in black. In the middle of their attire, there were ferocious poisonous snakes. They were the local deities of the island nation. Dragon King, have a taste. Our Garden of Eden has used a special method to store the divine wine for 500 years. The effect of this wine is not weaker than a grade 6 elixir. In the middle of the table sat a burly old man. The old man was called an angel, and he was also of the light attribute. The God of Light, who was known as the right hand of God, was obviously respected by the old man. The gods in the West inherited their position of God. The position of God was fixed. For example, in the Nordic divine territory, there were the God of Thunder, God of Fire, God of War, God of Reproduction, God of Protection, God of Light, God of Darkness, God of Forest, and so on. It was the same as the gods in the legends. However, they were not those people in the legends. Instead, they were cultivated. Oh, is that so? Wang Xian picked up the red wine beside him with a smile and took a sip. It does have medicinal effects. Haha, Dragon King, we didn't brew this wine for its medicinal effects. It seems that you don't know how to taste wine, Dragon King. The angel smiled and shook her head gently. She drank the red wine slowly. It was a standard red wine etiquette. However, Wang Xian was not interested in it. Compared to wine, he preferred to drink tea. I heard that you have a lot of spiritual herbs in the Garden of Eden. I'm sure you have heard of our Dragon Gate Forge. I wonder if you have any intention of cooperating. Wang Xian went straight to the point. The actions of the Celestials from the celestial domain were filled with the etiquette of the European continent. They were like gentlemen. Wang Xian was not used to this feeling. Dragon King, what do you think of our divine wine? The angel did not answer him directly. Instead, he pointed at the red wine beside him and asked. One bottle is equivalent to a grade 6 elixir. Wang Xian replied directly. That's right. This is brewed using the brewing method of grade 6 spiritual herbs. The angel said with a smile. This requires 500 years of precipitation to reach such a stage. Wang Xian picked it up and shook it gently. Chapter 826, Conditions of Cooperation. What the angel meant was that they could use their own methods to refine items that were comparable to elixirs. Naturally, Wang Xian could understand. Their brewing method could indeed be comparable to elixirs, but it had a huge drawback. It required a long period of time to settle down. This was a huge drawback. That's right. This requires a few hundred years of settling down. That's why we asked the Dragon King to come over and have a discussion. The angel chuckled and asked, May I know how the Dragon King intends to cooperate? It would be even better if we can open the shop in the divine territory. If we can't open it, we'll give you 2 sets of ingredients. One of the ingredients will be the medicinal pill. Wang Xian said directly. This was the condition for the refinement and it was very suitable. If he were to find another alchemist to refine it, he would definitely not give them as little as he did. The angel exchanged a glance with the group of celestials beside him. Following that, he nodded to Wang Xian slowly and said, It's very reasonable. We will discuss this matter with our godly king later. It shouldn't be a big problem. All right then. Since that's the case, here's some good news from all of us. It's just some small things. I'm sorry for not paying my respects. Wang Xian did not expect things to go so smoothly. With a gentle wave of his arm, numerous straight daggers flew to the table beside them. A level 12 spirit weapon was quite valuable due to its exquisite quality. Thank you, Dragon King. The group of immortals raised their wine glasses at Wang Xian with smiles on their faces. Wang Xian nodded with a smile. He took a sip of red wine and chatted with them for a while before leaving. This Dragon King is quite bold. The angel opened the exquisite dagger and revealed a smile. The Dragon Palace is the strongest faction in Huaxia's immortal sections. They are proficient in alchemy and weapon refinement. This collaboration is a good thing for them and us. The flower god beside him wove a flower on the dagger and said with a smile. However, the specific collaboration still needs to be discussed. The angel turned to look at the 5 island immortals dressed in black. Huaxia's Yellow Heaven Immortal Sect, Yongchang Immortal Sect, Great Flood Immortal Sect, and Beast Immortal Sect are all very powerful. What do you plan to do? Okra's angel, we won't submit to them. We invited the gods of the Garden of Eden's divine realm over because we want to discuss the cooperation. A thin and frail elder with a small mustache said to the angel with a smile. It has been decades since any immortal god appeared in the various major god realms. Currently, the most important thing for us is the resources. Tell me, how do we cooperate? The angel Okra picked up her wine cup and said calmly. Now that the subcontinent has been completely occupied by the immortal sects, our 9 Snakes Association has quite a lot of power and spies. We will be useful in the future. I heard that the ancient Greek god realms killed 2 immortal gods from the puppet immortal sect. The thin elder smiled and said, As you know, we have been enemies with China for generations. Okay, we will help you solve this problem. Okra's angel nodded. Then we will invite the gods to come here tonight. The thin elder narrowed his eyes and said. Okay, by the way, we will invite this Dragon King to come with us later. With this Dragon King around, this matter will be much easier. Okra's angel said with a smile. After all, this Dragon King is from the Huaxia Immortal Sect. Will he? The thin and frail old man said hesitantly. This Dragon King doesn't have a good relationship with the Huaxia immortal sect. Don't worry, leave it to us. Okra's angel revealed a faint smile. Then thank you to the gods of the Garden of Eden. As the thin and frail old man spoke, he placed an item beside him. The eyes of the angel of Okra sparkled. After opening it, a satisfied expression appeared on his face. Everyone, see you tonight. After the gods of the Garden of Eden left, the 5 elders slowly stood up. Their expressions were as sinister as that of a venomous snake. The celestial sect of China has appeared, and the Western gods are still ruling the world. It's too difficult for us to survive in the crevices. Only when they fight will we have a chance to survive. The world is currently short of resources, and the ancient Greek gods killed the puppet immortal sections. In the future, there might be another war between the immortals and gods. More than 1,000 years ago, the Western gods were defeated, and the immortal sects even fought to the west. It would be interesting if a second war between the East and the West broke out. The 5 old men stood there in a gloomy manner. Their eyes were flashing with a venomous snake-like smile. Xiao Yu. When Wang Xian returned to the floating island, he saw Xiao Yu and a group of young men and women on the floating island. Feng Lingtian was among them. Brother, why are you here? When Xiao Yu saw Wang Xian flying over, she asked curiously as well. They flew over to take a look out of curiosity when they discovered that the floating island had appeared by the sea. There are some matters that need to be taken care of. Why are you guys also on the island? Wang Xian swept his gaze across the surroundings and realized that they were all elite disciples of the major immortal sections. He stroked Xiao Yu's head with a smile on his face. Dragon King. The group of core disciples of the immortal sects looked at Wang Xian with some restraint and greeted him respectfully. Feng Lingtian also shouted nervously. The person in front of them was the superior immortal King Dragon, the most powerful force in the entire Jianghu and the owner of the Dragon Palace. The reason why they were able to be together with the younger sister of the Dragon King was also because of Feng Lingtian. This made them both nervous and excited. Why are there so many of you here? Wang Xian asked curiously. Brother, we were originally going to Sanya. In the end, the Wild Beast Immortal Sect and the Yellow Heaven Immortal Sect came to the island to subdue the forces of the island. That's why we came here. Xiao Yu smiled as she held Wang Xian's hand. Subdue the forces of the island? A hint of surprise flashed across Wang Xian's eyes. Subdue what forces? The 9 Snakes Association. I'm not too sure either. Xiao Yu looked at Feng Lingtian who was at the side. Dragon King, currently, the major immortal sects are unifying all the major forces in the subcontinent. Our 4 major immortal sects are prepared to subdue or destroy the forces of the island nation. They will give us a reply today. Feng Lingtian said respectfully to Wang Xian. The forces of the island nation? Which forces? Wang Xian frowned slightly and asked them. The 9 Snakes Association is the strongest force in the entire island nation. They have 5 celestials and they are not weak. If they don't give us a reply tonight, we will destroy them. A young man chimed in. The 9 Snakes Association. 5 celestials. Wang Xian was stunned and his eyes flickered. The 9 Snakes Association, if he did not guess wrongly, should be the people of the octahedron. And those 5 immortals should be the 5 immortals that he saw at the gods in the Garden of Eden today. It seemed that everything was not as simple as he had imagined. P.S. The last 2 shifts will be very late. I don't know when it will be so late. There will definitely be one tomorrow morning. Chapter 827. For the sake of resources, Huaxia's Jianghu forces wanted to unify the subcontinent. At present, India's side was directly destroyed under the attacks of the Xian Yuan clan and the Yuan clan. Some other forces, such as the Netherworld Fire God sect, were directly destroyed or subdued by the other immortal sections. As soon as the immortal sects appeared, the weak Huaxia was like a sleeping dragon, easily destroying the powerful subcontinent forces. Currently, in the entire subcontinent, only the forces of the island nation had not been subdued. This time, the Wild Beast Immortal Sect, together with the Great Hung Immortal Sect, the Yongchang Immortal Sect, and the Yellow Heaven Immortal Sect, went to conquer the island nation's most powerful force, the Nine Snakes Association. The Nine Snakes Association was the most powerful force in the island nation. It had a total of 5 immortal gods, a force that could not be underestimated. However, the Nine Snakes Association was nothing in the face of the 4 powerful immortal sections. The 4 immortal sects could easily wipe them out. Tonight, the Nine Snakes Association would give a reply to the 4 immortal sections. Wang Xian pondered for a while and looked at Xiao Yu. Xiao Yu, are you going over tonight? Yes, I'm going over to have some fun. What's the matter, brother? Xiao Yu asked Wang Xian curiously. It's nothing. I'll go over with you tonight. Wang Xian shook his head. If the Nine Snakes Association was really going to submit to the 4 great immortal sects, why would they meet the gods in the Garden of Eden today? Yes, all right, brother. Oh right, 2 immortal gods from the puppet immortal sect were killed by the gods from the ancient Greek divine realm. The ancient Greek divine realm said that the puppet immortal sect was too greedy and violated the treaty. Xiao Yu nodded. She suddenly recalled the news she received today and told Wang Xian. The gods from the ancient Greek divine realm have killed the immortals from the puppet immortal sect. Wang Xian's gaze turned cold as a hint of killing intent flashed in his eyes. He knew a little about the 2 immortals from the puppet immortal sect. They were definitely not the kind of people who would dare to ask for too much. They definitely did not have the guts to violate the treaty with the divine realm. A while ago, Wang Xian had a lot of contact with the 2 immortal gods of the puppet immortal sect. The 2 of them were considered good people and they were considered good friends. The forging workshop of the Dragon Gate and many other things were built with the help of their disciples. Speaking of which, among the immortal sects, other than the natural-born immortal sect, their relationship was the best. Moreover, after he destroyed the Holy Doctor and Holy Medicine immortal sect, the 2 immortal gods from the puppet immortal sect came over to seek refuge with him. In the future, they would only follow the orders of the Dragon Palace. Back then, Wang Xian didn't take a fancy to the strength of the puppet immortal sect and rejected them. When he wanted to forge something, the 2 immortal gods immediately followed him with great respect. He could be considered as a lackey of the Dragon Palace. He didn't expect that he would lose his life because of a collaboration. Divine Realm. A cold glint flashed across Wang Xian's eyes. Those who are not of the same race would have different thoughts. Wang Xian did not agree with this statement. However, sometimes, this statement was not wrong. You guys can play here. I will come and look for you at night. Wang Xian's mind was filled with thoughts. He nodded his head and looked at Feng Lingtian. After sensing his strength, he said to him, "Cultivate well. Your current strength is still too weak." Yes, it's the Dragon King. Feng Lingtian's face turned slightly red as he nodded his head hurriedly. Xiao Yu smiled at the side and didn't say anything. Wang Xian's figure moved and returned to his room on the floating island. He hesitated for a moment and said, "Ao Jian, send someone to inform the strange demon clan and get them to investigate all the information in the divine realm. It's the Dragon King." Ao Jian nodded his head and immediately ordered his subordinates to report to the Dragon Palace. Ancient Greek Divine Realm. Wang Xian mumbled as his eyes sparkled with an inexplicable luster. Dragon King, the Garden of Eden has sent an invitation. In the evening, the demonic azure dragon walked into the room and reported to Wang Xian. "Oh. An invitation? Let me see." Wang Xian took the invitation with slight curiosity. Cherry Blossom Peak. Wang Xian stared at the invitation with a face full of curiosity. With a move of his body, he flew to the location outside. At the leisure area, Xiao Yu and a group of core disciples of the Immortal Sect were resting on the island. Xiao Yu, are you guys going to Cherry Blossom Peak tonight? Wang Xian saw Xiao Yu and Feng Lingtian chatting. He came to her side with a smile and asked her. Huh? Brother, how did you know? It's fine. You guys go first. Wang Xian saw Xiao Yu's curious look and said with a smile. Xiao Yu did not ask any further and continued to play. At night, Wang Xian flew towards the location of Cherry Blossom Peak. Cherry Blossom Peak was located next to the snow mountain of the island nation. It was the same mountain that Wang Xian went to in the afternoon, but it was not the same room. Please, Dragon King. When they arrived at the location of Cherry Blossom Peak, an old man looked at Wang Xian and said respectfully. Okay. Wang Xian nodded and followed closely behind as they walked into a cave that was surrounded by cherry blossoms. When they entered the cave, they saw a huge banquet hall. However, there was no banquet held in the entire hall at this moment. The people from the 4 great immortal sects were sitting in the banquet hall. The gods from the Garden of Eden were also sitting in the hall. One was on the left while the other was on the right. There were 5 old men from the 9 Snakes Association sitting in the middle. When Wang Xian arrived, he instantly felt that the atmosphere was extremely solemn. Haha, Dragon King, please take a seat here. When the Angel of Ochre saw Wang Xian, she smiled at him and said. Wang Xian swept his gaze across the surroundings and walked toward the seat beside the Angel of Ochre without any expression on his face. In the hall, the immortals from the 4 major immortal sects were stunned when they saw Wang Xian. Xiao Yu was not too surprised when he saw Wang Xian. He was just very surprised. Ha, everyone from Huaxia Immortal Sect, don't make things difficult for others. At this moment, the skinny elder who was sitting in the middle of the hall laughed out loud when he saw Wang Xian. The 10 immortals from the Wild Beast Immortal Sect, Yellow Heaven Immortal Sect, Great Flood Immortal Sect, and Yongchang Immortal Sect, who were sitting across from Wang Xian, had ugly expressions when they saw Wang Xian's sudden arrival. They glanced at Xiao Yu. An elder from the Wild Beast Immortal Sect asked in a deep voice, Dragon King, what are you going to do? It has nothing to do with me. I was just invited here. Wang Xian smiled faintly at the Ochre Angel and took a sip of the tea on the table. The Ochre Angel and the surrounding gods raised their eyebrows slightly. Dragon King, the friends of the 9 Snakes Association are our allies in the Garden of Eden. Now, your Huaxia Immortal Sect wants to destroy them. Dragon King, you have some status in Huaxia. Please say something. It's not good for me to get involved in the matters of our Huaxia Immortal Sect. When Wang Xian heard the Angel of Ochre's words, he finally understood. The Garden of Eden wanted to use him to solve the 9 Snakes Association's matter. He didn't know what agreement the 9 Snakes Association had reached with them. When he thought about the matter of the Puppet Immortal Sect, his voice was a little cold. Dragon King, no matter what, we can be considered partners in the future. This shouldn't be a big problem for you, right? Hearing Wang Xian's rejection, the Angel of Ochre frowned and said with a twinkle in her eyes. Cooperation is cooperation. It shouldn't have anything to do with other things, right? Wang Xian said to them indifferently. His words caused the faces of the gods in the Garden of Eden to change slightly. Their eyes turned cold. Dragon King, are you clearly not sincere about cooperating? Don't confuse cooperation with other things. Wang Xian shook his head lightly. In that case, it seems that there is no need for cooperation between us. The Angel of Ochre looked at him coldly and said. Wang Xian smiled faintly and didn't say anything. Wang Xian didn't have high hopes for cooperation from the start. It would be best if it could succeed. If it failed, there wouldn't be any losses. Chapter 828, was not from his race. Wang Xian hated being used by others. Cooperation was cooperation. There was no need to get involved in other things. If both parties were sincere, he would help the other party even if the other party did not ask for his help. However, the cooperation was not completely confirmed yet. To ask for his help was asking for too much. Furthermore, because of the puppet immortal sect, Wang Xian was extremely unhappy with the Western Divine Realm. He. Upon hearing Wang Xian's words, the immortals from the four great immortal sects heaved a sigh of relief. They looked at Wang Xian gratefully before turning to the 5 elders from the 9 Snakes Association. A cold smile appeared on their faces. Garden of Eden, this is a matter of the East. It's best for the Western Divine Realm not to interfere. The elder from the Berserk Beast Immortal sect stared coldly at the Okra Angel as he spoke. What do you mean by meddling in your affairs? The 9 Snakes Association is an ally of the Garden of Eden. If you want to destroy them, we will naturally take action. Okra said with an embarrassed expression. Huaxia Immortal Sect, don't think that we 9 snakes will be afraid of you. A superior immortal. Our Invincible Lord is also a superior immortal. We are not afraid of you. Seeing that Wang Xian was ignoring the Garden of Eden, the frail elder growled in a low voice with an embarrassed expression. Let us give it a try. Today, we are only here to warn you. Choose to live or choose to die. This time, the 4 immortal sects are here. Next time, it might not be just the 4 immortal sects. The elder from the Wild Beast Immortal sect stared at them without any fear. His gaze swept across the gods in the Garden of Eden. It is best for your Garden of Eden not to interfere. The 4 immortal sects are not afraid of your divine realm. Not afraid? Then are we afraid of you? The Okra Angel lightly patted the table and looked at the thin and frail elder. Tell your excellency, with all the powers of the 9 Snakes Association and our Garden of Eden, are you afraid of the 4 immortal sects? The Okra Angel, even if we don't include you, we are not afraid of them at all. Our excellency will not submit to any power. Our excellency is the strongest existence in the world. The thin and frail old man's eyes were filled with a fiery glow as he shouted coldly. Is your lord an octahedron? When Wang Xian heard their words, he could not help but ask with a smile. That's right. The omnipotent octahedron god, the god with endless lifespan and wisdom, the strongest existence in the world. The thin and frail old man looked at Wang Xian and swept his gaze across Wang Xian with pride. The 8-limbed god of a superior immortal is indeed very strong. Wang Xian said faintly. Of course. The thin and frail elder snorted coldly and said with pride. Dragon King, since you know that the 9 Snakes Association is very strong, you might as well form an alliance with us. The cooperation between us can continue. The Okra Angel looked at Wang Xian and said with a solemn face. No, I don't trust you guys now. That's why I won't cooperate with you guys. Wang Xian shook his head and said with a smile on his face. The faces of the gods in the Garden of Eden changed, a cold expression appeared on his face. Since we won't cooperate, our Garden of Eden doesn't care about it at all. Do you really think that we want to cooperate with the Dragon Palace? If you guys didn't come looking for us back then, we wouldn't have cooperated with you guys. Now. Dragon King, you are really interesting. Wang Xian smiled, he stood up slowly and said, if we can cooperate, we will cooperate. If we can't cooperate, we won't cooperate. Don't think too highly of yourselves. This is a matter of mutual benefit. Moreover, I don't believe in the credibility of your divine realm. Dragon King, don't make so many excuses if you don't want to cooperate. Upon hearing Wang Xian's last sentence, an icy look appeared in the eyes of the Okra Angel as she spoke coldly. That's right. Do you really think that the Garden of Eden is begging to cooperate with you? Do you really think that you're someone? In the eyes of the divine realm, you, Dragon King, are nothing more than this. The god of flowers, who was beside him, spoke coldly. Upon hearing her words, a hint of coldness appeared in Wang Xian's eyes as he stared coldly at the god of flowers. What's wrong, Dragon King? Don't tell me you still want to make a move. The flower god stared at Wang Xian fearlessly. The gods in the Garden of Eden stared at him fearlessly. Your dragon palace's strength is only similar to our Garden of Eden. If we add in our allies, the ancient Greek divine realm and the Nine Snakes Association, we wouldn't be afraid of your dragon palace at all. Are you guys on good terms with the ancient Greek divine realm? Wang Xian's eyes sparkled when he heard their words. Alright, we don't have any time to chat with you guys today. Today, the divine realm of the Garden of Eden will tell you Chinese gods that the Nine Snakes Association is our ally. If you guys dare to make a move, consider the consequences. The Angel of Okra stood up and swept his gaze across Wang Xian and the people from the four great immortal sections. His tone was filled with a strong warning. The puppet immortal sect is my friend. Just as OCRA's angel finished her sentence, Wang Xian suddenly said something out of the blue. Why? Could it be that the Dragon King still wants to avenge the people from the puppet immortal sect? OCRA stared at Wang Xian and said with a cold smile. Although we are not close friends, we have a good relationship. We will investigate it thoroughly. If it was intentional killing, we will consider avenging them. Wang Xian said faintly. Then, Dragon King, you might not have the ability to do so. OCRA's angel said with a cold smile. There is something fishy about the killing of two immortals from the puppet immortal sect. The Grand Elder of the Xian Yuan clan is even planning to investigate this matter. The elder from the Wild Beast Immortal sect said from the side. So what if they are dead? So what if they are found out? Okra said coldly. That's right. He's already dead. So what if he's found out? Wang Xian sighed slightly. Let's collect some interest first. Clang. Clang. As he finished speaking, Ao Jian and another immortal god from the Golden Swordfish clan beside him drew their long swords. Their bodies were instantly filled with killing intent. Huh? All the immortal sects in the hall were slightly stunned. Their faces were filled with astonishment. The immortal gods in the Garden of Eden were also filled with astonishment. They stared at Ao Jian and the other two people beside Wang Xian in disbelief. Even the 10 immortal gods and the core disciples of the Wild Beast Immortal sect were filled with astonishment. The two immortal gods from the Puppet Immortal sect can be considered my friends. Wang Xian walked slowly to the center of the hall. They were killed by the gods of the ancient Greek divine realm. Regardless of the reason, just kill them. However, I'm still a little unhappy. This makes my thoughts a little illogical. You guys have a better relationship with the ancient Greek divine realm. Coincidentally, the Puppet Immortal sect and the ancient Greek divine realm were killed because of business cooperation. We didn't have a good agreement because of business cooperation and business matters. In that case, I'll kill all of you to make me feel better. Chapter 829, Kill Them. Stunned, shocked. Everyone in the room was shocked and they heard what Wang Xian said. What the Dragon King said was too overbearing. The ancient Greek divine realm has a good relationship with you guys. I am not happy that my friend, the celestial god of the Puppet Immortal sect, was killed. Since our business is not doing well, I will use you guys to make up for the unhappiness in my heart. Wang Xian's way of doing things was completely the same as the ancient Greek celestial realm. Two celestial gods from the Puppet Immortal sect were killed. The ancient Greek celestial realm directly said that the Puppet Immortal sect didn't keep their word and was pushing their luck. Now, I will also kill all the gods in the Garden of Eden celestial realm. It can also be said that you guys didn't keep your word. This overbearing way of doing things shocked the four great celestial sections. At the same time, they also felt very good. Damn it, you can kill the people of our Huaxia immortal sect, but why can't we kill you? Anyway, it was a kind of nihility. Although this method was very comfortable, among all the immortal sects in Huaxia, none of them dared to do this because every divine realm was stronger than the immortal sections. If the immortal sects didn't join forces, they wouldn't be able to contend with the divine realm. But now, the Dragon King dared to do it. This made them feel a sense of relief. The disciples of the four immortal sects stared at Wang Xian with admiration. Some of the female disciples wanted to marry him. When the 8 gods of the Garden of Eden heard Wang Xian's words, their faces instantly turned cold. When they saw Ao Jian and Ao Jian, who were full of killing intent, behind Wang Xian, they looked embarrassed. Dragon King, do you mean to kill us? The eyes of the Angel of Ochre sparkled as she said coldly, do you really think you can kill us with just the 2 of you? That's more than enough. Wang Xian turned his body to the side and released a terrifying pressure instantly. The power of a superior immortal instantly filled the entire room as traces of killing intent brewed in the air. The faces of the gods in the Garden of Eden changed slightly. Each of them held the divine staffs in their hands tightly and pointed them at Wang Xian. Dragon King, do you want to be enemies with the Garden of Eden? So what if we are enemies? You guys are too annoying. Wang Xian said coldly. Stop it, Dragon King. This is the territory of the 9 Snakes Association. Don't be impudent in our territory. The expressions of the 5 elders changed instantly. They stood up immediately and stood beside the gods in the Garden of Eden. They stared at Wang Xian with an embarrassed expression. This is my territory. Wang Xian said to the elder indifferently. Your territory? He, our Lord Ba Qi is not afraid of you, Dragon King. The elder said with a sinister look in his eyes. Then call Ba Qi over. Otherwise, I will make my move. Wang Xian smirked at the 5 elders of the 9 Snakes Association and said with a mocking look in his eyes. He spat out 3 dragon balls which contained a terrifying power. The 3 dragon balls were suspended in the air and could launch a terrifying attack at any time. Dragon King, if you dare to make your move, the Garden of Eden will not let you off. Sensing the power of the 3 dragon balls, the faces of the gods in the Garden of Eden changed slightly as they spoke with a solemn expression. Crack! Crack! At this moment, a cracking sound was heard. The thin elder of the 9 Snakes Association was holding a cracked snake head in his hand. Dragon King, you forced me to do this. Our great god of 8 orbs doesn't have a good temper. If you anger him, even if you are the Dragon King, you will have to pay a heavy price. The thin elder said coldly. Why did you call me? At this moment, a slightly impatient voice came from underground. Ochre's angel was slightly delighted, and a light flashed in his eyes. He immediately shouted, Lord Ba Qi, we are the gods of the Garden of Eden. We hope to cooperate with the 9 Snakes Association to deal with some fellows who are courting death. Lord Ba Qi, someone is disrespecting the 9 Snakes Association and wants to kill us and all the guests of the Garden of Eden. The thin and weak elder hurriedly shouted. Superior Immortal, there really is a Superior Immortal in the 9 Snakes Association. Hiss, it can't be. A small force actually has a Superior Immortal. The sudden appearance of the voice startled everyone from the 4 great immortal sections. Even the 10 immortal gods frowned. They had heard of Ba Qi from the 9 Snakes Association, but they had always treated him as a mythical creature. If these mythical creatures really existed, then to the 4 great immortal sects, they were also a very powerful existence. After all, they were powerful upper-level immortals. Crack, crack, crack. A crack appeared on the ground, and a long hand stretched out from the ground. With a gentle wave of its white and slender arm, a hole appeared. A head appeared. The head was somewhat slender, and its face was extremely pale. It had a pair of extremely cold eyes. However, What was even more shocking was that after the head appeared, a second, third, and fourth head appeared. Everyone around had shocked expressions on their faces. They stared at the 9 heads with solemn expressions. The monster gave off a cold and gloomy expression. 9 heads and 9 arms. It gave off an extremely sinister feeling. Great God Ba Chi, it's him. He wants to kill us, and he also wants to kill our distinguished guests in the Garden of Eden. The skinny elder quickly laid his body on the ground and spoke to Ba Chi as though he was in awe of God. The other 4 elders were also lying on the ground. Their respect was as though they were slaves. He wants to kill all of you and him. When the Ba Chi serpent came out, a few of the 9 heads had already spotted Wang Xian. However, he did not greet him immediately. As an extremely intelligent 8-headed snake, he knew what was best for him. Yes, Lord 8-headed snake. We are currently cooperating with the 9-headed snake society. This Dragon King actually wants to destroy us. Please help us, Lord. In the future, the Garden of Eden will definitely reward you handsomely. When Okra saw the 8-headed snake appear, he glanced at Wang Xian with a smile on his face. Then, he cupped his hands and said, "Is that so?" Octavia slowly nodded his head. His 9 heads stared at the Octavia angel. Suddenly, the 9 heads opened their mouths at the same time, and their terrifying tongues swept towards the Octavia angel. The Octavia angel was instantly stunned. His pupils dilated, and a look of terror appeared in his eyes. However, Octavia was a high god after all. His strength was definitely not something a god could withstand. Lord Ba Chi, are you trying to? The 9 terrifying tongues became 7 or 8 meters long, wrapping around Okra's body. A dense amount of light energy surged from his body as he roared loudly, wanting to break free. Lord Ba Chi. The faces of the other Garden of Eden gods changed dramatically, and the divine staffs in their hands began to emit terrifying power. Kiki, a bunch of bastards who want to die. The 8-limbed serpent's 9 arms were like venomous snakes, directly growing longer. The serpent heads instantly bit onto the bodies of the Garden of Eden gods. In less than a second, the bodies of the gods turned pitch black. The terrifying poison caused the lower gods to instantly lose all their offensive power. The Dragon King said that he wants to kill you all, so let's kill you all. Chapter 830, /down. Swoosh. 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 Within the entire room, terrifying arms began to wrap around the gods of the Garden of Eden. The arms were like snakes, easily wrapping around the 8 gods of the Garden of Eden. The 8 gods seemed powerful, but to the 8 gods, they were nothing. A high god, especially a powerful high god like the 8 gods, could easily destroy 2 gods and 6 demigods. "Milord, you." The skinny old man's face changed dramatically, especially after what Lord Ba Chi had just said. The Dragon King said that he wanted to kill all of you, so he would kill all of you. This. You said that the Dragon King wants to kill you? Ba Chi didn't move at all. A tongue came to the skinny old man's side, wrapping around his body. "Milord, no, no, great God Ba Chi." The thin and weak elder's face was filled with terror, but he did not dare to resist. Trash. Ba Chi's eyes were devoid of any emotion. Snakes were cold-blooded animals. His tongue coiled up, and the mouth of one of the heads actually expanded to 2 to 3 meters in size, directly swallowing the elder's body. Ah! A terrified scream rang out. The thin and weak elder was swallowed into his stomach without any resistance. A cold and gloomy feeling spread throughout the entire house. No matter what, the old man was a lower-level immortal. He was actually swallowed directly. In an instant, the gods in the Garden of Eden revealed a horrified expression. These 9-headed monsters actually swallowed even their own subordinates. Was it just because of that sentence about the Dragon King wanting to kill you? This. What the hell was this situation? Dragon King, I've eaten all of these useless things. Ba Qi licked his tongue and looked extremely terrifying. His 9 heads turned towards Wang Xian and said respectfully. What? What? When the gods in the Garden of Eden heard Ba Qi's words, they felt a chill down their spines again. They looked at Wang Xian in a daze. What was the relationship between Ba Qi and the Dragon King? Why was it like this? Don't waste it. Just kill them and bring them back to the Dragon Palace. Wang Xian felt that it was a waste when he saw Ba Qi devouring an immortal god directly. He told Ba Qi directly. It's the Dragon King. Ba Qi nodded his head and looked at the other 4 elders who were lying on the ground. Dragon King, how should we deal with these 4 people who offended you? You can deal with your subordinates yourself. Wang Xian took a glance at the 5 subordinates of Ba Qi. There was a thick stench of blood on their bodies. Although they were still a lot weaker than Ba Qi, they had definitely killed many people and committed many bad deeds. Wang Xian did not have a good impression of such sinister and evil people. Kiki, I don't need these useless people in the future. Ba Qi smiled and stuck out his tongue. His long tongue rolled up the 4 old men. Come, come, enter my stomach and sacrifice your lives for your god. Yes, yes. The 4 elders trembled, but they did not resist at all. They lay on the ground and were rolled up by the tongue and entered Ba Qi's mouth. Hiss. Everyone around felt their scalps go numb. This was simply too abnormal and terrifying. No, no, Ba Qi Dragon King, if you dare to kill us, our Garden of Eden will definitely not let you off. Don't kill us, don't kill us. When the gods of the Garden of Eden saw 8 points devouring their subordinates in a crazed manner, their bodies trembled and their faces were filled with fear as they spoke. Kiki, Garden of Eden's divine realm, am I, 8 points, afraid of you? 8 points extended his tongue and flicked it gently. An illusion flashed and directly pierced through his body. No, no. Seeing that Ba Qi dared to kill him directly, Okra's angel widened his eyes in fear. Whoosh! 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 With a loud sound, Ba Qi's tongue pierced through the remaining 7 gods in an instant. There was no emotion in his eyes. Has everything been settled? Wang Xian asked Ba Qi. Dragon King, everything has been settled. Ba Qi lowered his 9 heads and said respectfully to Wang Xian. Let's go. Wang Xian nodded his head and looked at the people from the 4 great immortal sections. I'll leave this place to you guys. Oh right, let's announce to the public that the Garden of Eden is cooperating with our Dragon Palace. Because they went back on their word, they demanded too much and were annihilated by our Dragon Palace. After he finished speaking, he looked at Xiao Yu. Are we going back? We'll play for a few more days. Xiao Yu stuck out her tongue and said with a smile. Okay. Wang Xian nodded with a smile. Following that, he flew out. Ba Qi placed the corpses in his interspatial ring and followed behind him respectfully as he flew towards the floating island. Hiss, this is too terrifying. One of the disciples from the 4 great immortal sects widened his eyes as he looked at the fresh blood around him. He was tongue-tied. What a terrifying octahedron. If you want to subdue or destroy the 9 Snakes Association, at least let one of the Xian Yuan clan and the Yuan clan take action. Otherwise, that terrifying existence has actually been taken in as a subordinate by the Dragon Palace. The Dragon King's strength is really unfathomable. He actually dared to directly destroy the gods of the Garden of Eden. Ha, this is so satisfying. The ancient Greek divine realm killed 2 immortal gods with just a sentence like the puppet immortal sex lion opening its mouth. Now, the Dragon King directly killed 8 immortal gods and returned them to the Western divine realm. Although they are not from the ancient Greek divine realm, their relationship with the ancient Greek divine realm is better. This is so satisfying. If the gods in the Garden of Eden didn't say that their relationship with the ancient Greek divine realm is better, the Dragon King might not have killed them. The immortals and disciples of the immortal sect said happily. The reason why the puppet immortal sect was killed by the gods of the divine realm was obviously unreasonable. This time, the Dragon King used the same reason to kill the people of the divine realm, which made them very happy. Although the relationship between the immortal sects was not very good, they were at least on the same side. When they faced the Western divine realm, they also shared a common enemy. The Dragon King's behavior undoubtedly boosted the momentum of the Eastern immortal sect. Miss you, has this place been occupied by your brother? At this time, an elder of the wild beast immortal sect asked Xiao Yu politely. No, the territory of the Dragon Palace is not on the surface. My brother will not occupy this place either. You guys can occupy this place. Xiao Yu smiled and shook her head. The territory of the Dragon Palace was in the ocean. This was something that Wang Xian had already decided on. He would only occupy the ocean and ignore the matters on the land. All right. Then, thank the Dragon King on our behalf. The elder from the wild beast immortal sect nodded his head happily. The surrounding immortals and gods also thanked little Yu. Even Feng Lingtian's father had many thoughts in his mind. Now that the Dragon King's power was becoming more and more terrifying, no one dared to provoke the Dragon King's sister in the entire Jianghu. Even the Yuan clan and Xianyuan clan had to greet little Yu respectfully. No one responded to the title of the Dragon Palace's eldest princess. It wasn't an exaggeration to call her the princess of the entire Jianghu. Chapter 831 was a sensation. Right now, Xiao Yu's strength had already reached the realm of an immortal god. In the entire Jianghu, the person with the strongest background was Xiao Yu. With a powerful and terrifying elder brother, no one in the entire Jianghu dared to provoke him. In fact, because of the relationship between the son of the Yellow Heaven Immortal Sect Master and Xiao Yu, the entire Yellow Heaven Immortal Sect benefited greatly. And the Yellow Heaven Immortal Sect's Feng Lingtian had become the most famous gigolo in the entire Jianghu, a man who lived off women. Every time Feng Lingtian heard this title, the corner of his mouth couldn't help but twitch, but unfortunately, it would still take him a long time to break through to the immortal god realm. Moreover, Xiao Yu's talent and strength were too terrifying, and he was completely unqualified to compare with them. Secondly, with his powerful background, his father, who was at the middle immortal level, could be easily destroyed under Xiao Yu's background. Especially today, when the Dragon King once again displayed his invincible strength and unparalleled dominance. A terrifying and evil upper-level immortal was his subordinate. Because of the puppet immortal sect, he directly killed the people from the Garden of Eden. It was simply a tyrannical comparison. If this matter is announced, it will probably cause a sensation. The people from the 4 great immortal sects looked at each other and whispered. This matter would indeed cause a huge sensation. The Dragon King killing the 8 gods of the Western Divine Realm would cause a huge sensation in the entire world. Just as they thought, that night, the people from the 4 great immortal sects released the news of the 8 gods of the Garden of Eden being killed. This news quickly spread throughout the entire world. And among the immortal sects in Jianghu, it caused a huge sensation. It's simply too domineering. The Dragon King is indeed the Dragon King. Killing him is good. They killed 2 immortal gods of the Puppet Immortal Sect because of a huge demand from the Puppet Immortal Sect. Then we can use the same reason to kill the 8 immortal gods. It's simply too satisfying. Thank you, Dragon King. Thank you, Dragon King, for avenging the disciples of the Puppet Immortal Sect. Killing them was good. Killing them was too good. Kill those arrogant fellows. Awesome, an eye for an eye, an eye for an eye. As expected of the Dragon King's style, supporting the Dragon King this time. The Dragon King is getting more and more powerful now. This time, he really avenged our Huaxia Immortal Sect. The Dragon King is indeed worthy of being the Dragon King. The Xianyuan clan and the Yuan clan are still investigating the specific reason. When they will find an explanation for the puppet immortal sect, the Dragon King directly killed 8 of their immortals. It was awesome. The Jianghu website was in an uproar. In the past 1 or 2 days, because the immortal gods of the puppet immortal sect had been killed by the divine realm, it had caused a great sensation in the Jianghu. The disciples of the puppet immortal sect were especially sorrowful, but they had no way at all. They could only ask the Xianyuan clan, the Yuan clan, and the wild beast immortal sect to help them vent their anger. They were originally from the same root. The matter of the puppet immortal sect had indeed aroused the sympathy of the disciples of the other immortal sects, and they all denounced the ancient Greek divine realm. However, today, the wild beast immortal sect, the yellow heaven immortal sect, the great flood immortal sect, and the Yongchang immortal sect announced that the Garden of Eden and the Dragon Palace would cooperate on the medicinal pills. Because they had demanded too much, they had been directly killed by the experts of the Dragon Palace. When this news came out, everyone was dumbfounded. In the beginning, when the disciples of the immortal sects heard that the puppet immortal sect had been killed by them because they had asked for too much, they started to curse. This was the most rubbish reason, the most unbelievable reason. However, it was useless even if they cursed again. However, today, the Dragon King used this reason to give back to the Western immortal sections. Awesome! That was awesome. This made everyone sigh at the Dragon King's domineering attitude. Back then, the Holy Medicine immortal sect ambushed the Dragon Gate forging workshop, killed the disciples of the Dragon Gate, and was annihilated by the Dragon King. At that time, everyone felt that the Dragon King's actions were domineering and arrogant. After half a year, they once again experienced the Dragon King's domineering attitude. This time, all the disciples of the immortal sect supported the Dragon King's actions online. This Dragon King. In the Xianyuan clan, the Yuan clan was discussing the matter of the puppet immortal sect. When they heard the news, they were speechless. The Dragon King directly killed the 8 gods of the Garden of Eden. It's not a good thing for us. It might cause a conflict between the immortal sects and the divine realm. The Grand Elder of the Xianyuan clan slowly shook his head and said, "This is the Dragon King's doing. Even if they want to take revenge, they will find the Dragon King. But now, the Dragon Palace has to mobilize the power of the 2 divine realms to contend with the Dragon King. Yes, the Dragon King is too strong." The Wild Beast Immortal sect sent news that the Dragon King has subdued a superior immortal from the island nation. Now, the power of the Dragon Palace is unfathomable. The 2 immortal sects sighed slightly. The Dragon King's action could be considered to have solved the problem of the puppet immortal sect. However, at this moment, in the far west, the divine realm was a domain of its own. In the vast western domain, the 7 divine realms occupied a huge space. The divine realm of the Garden of Eden was one of the more powerful divine realms. There were more than 20 immortal gods in the entire divine realm. The divine realm of the Garden of Eden looked like a garden at a glance. There were all kinds of trees growing inside. The entire divine realm was full of vitality. In the center of the divine territory, there were many dreamlike buildings. In the center, a piece of white metal that was more than 10 meters in size was hanging in the sky. Buzz, buzz, buzz. At this moment, information appeared on the white metal. When the divine servants guarding the side saw the information, they were shocked and immediately flew into a hall. What? The Okra angels and the others were killed by the Huaxia Dragon King. An angry voice sounded in the divine realm. A burly old man flew out of the hall with a huge golden hammer in his hand. He stared at the message on the white metal. His face was extremely gloomy. Soon, the gods in the divine realm rushed over one by one. When their eyes swept over, they revealed shocked expressions. The gods had fallen. 8 of them had fallen. This was a huge matter for the entire divine realm. In the Western Divine Realm, the death of every god would cause a huge commotion. Now that 8 gods had fallen, it was no different from an earthquake. In particular, the reason why the 8 gods had been killed was so absurd. This was clearly a provocation to their divine realm. Very soon, this news spread throughout the 7 great divine realms, causing the entire divine realm to boil. Everyone's gaze fell on the ancient Greek divine realm. Because of all the reasons, it was still caused by the ancient Greek divine realm. The 7 divine realms were not united. There were also all sorts of differences and disputes. They did not unite to go to the east to take revenge. Instead, they quietly waited for the result. Just like how the puppet immortal sect dealt with it, they quietly waited. The other divine realms also had an attitude of not caring about their own matters. Only the people from the ancient Greek divine realm and the Garden of Eden divine realm had extremely ugly expressions. Furious roars sounded in the divine realm. Chapter 832, Negotiation and Strength. Dragon King, our dragon palace has added another 6 immortals. Time passed very quickly. It had been 2 days since the last time they killed the gods of the Garden of Eden. Prime Minister Gui came to Wang Xian's side and said happily. The 8 corpses of the gods of the Garden of Eden were absorbed by the dragon pool and turned into energy. This allowed the 6 members of the Dragon Palace to reach the realm of immortals. This dragon pool could be said to be a huge cheating device. As long as it absorbed energy, a large amount of dragon blood could be produced. Now, with the addition of the 8-limbed and crab generals, the number of immortals in the Dragon Palace had reached an astonishing 42. It might not be long before the immortals in the Dragon Palace can overturn the entire world. Wang Xian revealed a confident expression. This would take 4 to 5 years at most, or even faster. How is the search for information about the Western Divine Realm coming along? And about the invasion of the other seas, how are the preparations going? Wang Xian asked Prime Minister Gui. Dragon King, the strange demon has not gotten much information about the Western Divine Realm. The Divine Realm is a huge formation. Once we enter, we will be discovered. We are already making preparations for the invasion of the other seas. Tomorrow, Ao Qitian will lead a group of immortals and members of the Dragon Palace to battle. I believe that we will be able to completely control the entire subcontinent seas in no time. Prime Minister Gui replied. Yes. Wang Xian nodded his head. He couldn't be the commander-in-chief of the expedition to the ocean. When there were no creatures of the superior immortal level, he didn't need to take action at all. The fastest way for the Dragon Palace to develop was to use the corpses of immortals to nurture immortals. This was also the reason why Wang Xian took action to kill the gods in the Garden of Eden. It wasn't just because their actions made him unhappy. It wasn't just because of the matter with the puppet immortal sect. Brother, the Grand Elder of the Xian Yuan clan asked me to inform you of something. At this moment, Xiao Yu's voice came from above. Wang Xian looked up and smiled. What is it? Here, this is an envelope. The Grand Elder of the Xian Yuan clan said that the ancient Greek divine realm and the Garden of Eden divine realm wanted to talk to us about the 8 gods being killed by the Dragon Palace. Wang Xian threw an envelope over and said to him. Oh. I thought they would attack us directly. The corners of Wang Xian's mouth curled up slightly. He opened the envelope and read the contents. The ancient Greek divine territory and the Garden of Eden divine territory invited the Dragon Palace to Wuwei Island to talk about the gods being killed in the Garden of Eden. The 8 gods were killed. Naturally, the Garden of Eden divine territory wanted to take revenge. However, with their current strength, they were no match for the Dragon Palace. Moreover, even if they wanted to take revenge, they didn't know the exact location of the Dragon Palace. The Dragon Palace was located at the bottom of the vast ocean. Everyone knew that the Dragon Palace was located in the ocean, but no one knew the exact location. Hence, they had this invitation letter. I've already killed them. How do I solve this? The corner of Wang Xian's mouth curled up slightly. I want to go over and take a look. He moved his body and flew out directly. He shouted coldly, let's go. Whoosh. In the dragon palace, the 9 dragons moved. Behind them was a golden dragon chair. 4 golden swordfish celestial beings were standing on the left and right. Wang Xian leaped lightly and landed on the dragon chair. He looked down at the sea with a smile on his face. Let's go. Wang Xian felt that he was now a big shot. He was riding on a powerful divine beast and had 4 bodyguards by his side. The current battle was no longer like the past. When it came to a battle, they would fight directly. Instead, they would discuss it in advance. If they couldn't reach an agreement, a battle might break out. Unknowingly, the ignorant kid from a few years ago had become a peerless powerhouse who was now awe-inspiring. Wuwei Island was quite far away from here. For immortals and gods, it would take at least half an hour's journey. Wuwei Island was located at the junction between the east and the west, where the subcontinent and the European continent were connected. The entire Wuwei Island was only 10 kilometers in circumference. At this moment, in the east of the island, a group of immortals and gods were stepping on auspicious clouds or spirit swords, looking at the position in front of them. The Xian Yuan clan and the Yuan clan's supreme elder were in the center. The 2 of them had a Xian Yuan sword and an earth fan, and their bodies were filled with an otherworldly aura. In front of them, a group of people were riding Pegasus. In the center, a burly old man was riding a 5-meter-long black Pegasus. The old man was holding a huge hammer in his hand, and his body was emitting a terrifying aura. His eyes were cold as he stared forward. Next to him, a group of 12 people were standing at the very front, each of them wielding different weapons. There were some who stood atop crows, some who rode on enormous sea beasts, and one who sat atop a levitating throne. His right hand was wielding an enormous divine staff, and on his left and right was a black crow that was 2 meters in size. Each of them was emitting a terrifying aura. 3 of them had the power of a high god. The Yuan clan and the Xianyuan clan faced their group, but their faces didn't change in the slightest. The Dragon King of the Dragon Palace hasn't arrived yet? The muscular elder with the enormous hammer in his hand shouted coldly. Mad God, there's no need to be anxious. We've already notified him. He'll arrive soon. The supreme elder of the Yuan clan said calmly. Roar roar. At this moment, roars sounded one after another. Everyone looked over and their pupils constricted slightly. 9 20-meter-long flood dragons soared into the air. Their enormous bodies and powerful auras caused fear to rise in people's hearts. Behind the 9 flood dragons was a throne with a person sitting on it. The speed of the 9 flood dragons was extremely terrifying. In the blink of an eye, they had arrived in front of them. Other than the 9 terrifying dragons, the 4 swordsmen holding golden swords were seated on the left and right side of the throne. Ha, it seems that everyone has arrived so quickly. Wang Xian stood up and swept his gaze across the 2 groups of people in front of him. They should be the divine territory of the Garden of Eden and the ancient Greek divine territory. What brings you here today? HMH, Dragon King, you know the answer but you still ask. Do you think that the matter of killing the 8 gods of the Garden of Eden will be resolved just like that? The old man with the huge hammer in his hand pointed in the air. A terrifying aura was emitted. Mad God, let the gods of the ancient Greek divine realm tell us why they killed the 2 immortals of our Huaxia sect. The grand elder of the Xian Yuan clan said to him indifferently. How can the lives of 2 immortals be compared to the lives of the 8 of us? The old man roared furiously. A huge wave that was 100 meters high rose from the bottom of the sea. If you want to kill me, then kill me. If you have the guts, then kill me. Wang Xian's gaze was cold as he swept his gaze across the gods of the 2 major celestial realms. If you want to call me over, just tell me what you want. With that name, you, ancient Greece, can kill 2 people directly. So what if I kill 8 people? Since you're already dead, just tell me what you want now. Chapter 833, Dragon Palace Upgrade. In the sky above Wuwei Island, the atmosphere was extremely heavy. The 2 forces were emitting a terrifying aura. Wang Xian stood on the dragon throne and stared at all of them with a domineering expression. His face revealed a cold expression. When the gods from the Garden of Eden and ancient Greece heard Wang Xian's words, their faces revealed a gloomy expression. He was already dead. What else did he want? He was extremely powerful. Bang! Mad God's huge hammer struck the void once again. The terrifying energy caused the waves to churn. He stared at Wang Xian with murderous intent. Dragon King, you killed the gods of the Garden of Eden. You are trying to start a war. Mad God growled in a low voice with a ferocious expression. Wang Xian smiled and nodded. We can fight at any time. You guys can set a time and place. Arrogant. Is this the attitude of the Western immortal sects today? On the other side, the old man who was sitting on the throne looked coldly in the direction of the Xian Yuan clan and the Yuan clan. Master of Olympus, the cause of this incident is all because of you. The puppet immortal sect is the Dragon King's friend. You used an absurd reason to kill 2 of their immortals. That's why today's incident happened. The elder of the Yuan clan said with a smile on his face. Alright. It seems like we can't come to an agreement today. The elder held up the scepter beside him coldly and said with a cold expression. I would like to know how you guys are going to talk about this. Wang Xian crossed his arms and looked at all of them. Kill the gods of the Garden of Eden's divine territory and give us sufficient resources as compensation. Otherwise, we will be enemies. As the mad god spoke, the black warhorse raised its front hooves and looked like it was about to attack. What wishful thinking. If you want to fight, then fight. If not, then get lost. Wang Xian laughed out loud and shouted at them directly. Good. Dragon King, our ancient Greek divine realm will remember this. There will be plenty of time in the future. All of you will pay a heavy price for this. The Master of Olympus stood up coldly and stared at Wang Xian. Wang Xian did not show any signs of weakness as he swept his gaze across all of them. If you want to start a war, I will accompany you at any time. Let's go. The gods swept their gaze across Wang Xian with murderous intent. Their bodies moved and they flew into the distance. Dragon King, although you have vented your anger over this matter, you have to be careful in the future. The Western Divine Territory is very powerful. The Grand Elder of the Xian Yuan clan watched as the people from the Divine Realm left. He turned his head slowly and said to Wang Xian. Thank you for your reminder. Wang Xian cupped his hands. This time, our Eastern Immortal sect has formed a conflict with the Western Divine Realm. The feud between the East and the West has existed for a long time. 1,000 years ago, the Western Divine Realm was defeated by our Immortal sect. For more than 200 years, he had to submit to us. However, the distance between the 2 parties is too great. The West belongs to them. Later on, they gave birth to a powerful godly king in the West to get rid of our suppression. Soon after our immortal sect entered the world of the cauldron to survive, the Western Divine Realm also established the Divine Realm with divine objects and entered the Divine Realm. The Western Divine Realm was only born not too long ago. Now, the changes in the West are even greater than ours. They directly rule the entire Western world. They are gods, and ordinary people worship them. The Supreme Elder of the Yuan clan said slowly. If there is sufficient spiritual energy on Earth, it might even evolve into a fantasy world. Wang Xian said with a smile. The 2 of them nodded in agreement. If there was sufficient spiritual energy, the technological world would disappear and become a fantasy world. Oh right, Elder Yuan, your Yuan clan is good at formations. I wonder if we can trade some grade 2 formations with you. Wang Xian's eyes sparkled as he asked the supreme elder of the Yuan clan. Formations? We do have grade 2 formations. However, the rarity of grade 2 formations is not inferior to a celestial artifact. If the Dragon King wants it, he can exchange it with a celestial artifact. The supreme elder of the Yuan clan replied with a smile. I want 7 grade 2 formations. Any kind of formation with any effect is fine. I wonder if you guys have any. A glint flashed across Wang Xian's eyes as he asked with a smile. Yes, of course. It would be even better if the Dragon King could produce an Earth-type celestial artifact. The Grand Elder of the Yuan clan said. Alright, we might not have 7 Earth-type formations. If you have the materials, I can help you refine them too. Wang Xian nodded his head immediately. Deal. The formation is located in our Yuan clan. Please follow us, Dragon King. Alright. Wang Xian was all smiles. He sat on the dragon throne and followed the Yuan clan members as they flew towards the Gate of Immortality. Look, that's the Dragon King. Oh my god, he's so domineering. Those 9 dragons are immortal-level existences. Now, they are actually pulling the throne for the Dragon King. The 9 dragons are riding on the throne. They are simply too powerful. When they arrived at the Yuan clan's Gate of Immortality, the disciples of the Yuan clan below looked at the gigantic 9 dragons in shock. Their eyes were filled with respect and admiration. When they arrived at the Yuan clan's Celestial Mountain, the supreme elder of the Yuan clan handed the 7 formations to Wang Xian. He handed over the 7 immortal-level artifacts 2 days later. Wang Xian sat on the dragon throne and caused a commotion once again. He flew towards the Dragon Palace. The 10 level 2 formations have been gathered. The buildings that need to be upgraded in the Dragon Palace have been completed. With the addition of these 7 formations, the Dragon Palace will be upgraded to level 2. Wang Xian revealed an excited expression. A level 2 Dragon Palace had doubled its effectiveness. This upgrade would bring great benefits to the members of the Dragon Palace. The cultivation speed could be doubled and reach a terrifying level. Initially, he thought that the Yuan clan might not agree to it due to some conflict with them. However, from the looks of it now, it was completely different from what he had imagined. The celestial artifact was also a rare treasure for the Yuan clan. After arriving at the Dragon Palace, Wang Xian hovered above the Dragon Palace and swept his gaze downwards. Dragon Palace, Level 1. Dragon Master, Wang Xian, Level 9 5 Elemental Divine Dragon. Buildings. Dragon King Palace, Level 2, increases the Dragon King's cultivation speed and recovery speed by 600%. Dragon Transformation Pool, Level 2, absorbing dragon blood can give birth to a dragon seed, Dragon Blood, 143232. Dragon Gate, Level 2, only a fish can become a dragon after leaping through the Dragon Gate, effective against creatures below Level 12. Ocean Pacifying Needle, Level 2, Pillar of the Dragon Palace, pacify the Dragon Palace for 20 miles, increase the combat strength of the members of the Dragon Palace by 100%. Dragon Cave, Level 2, with 2,000 Dragon Caves, the cultivation speed of the creatures in the Dragon Cave will be increased by 400%. Dragon Field, Level 2, practice martial arts in the Dragon Field, increase comprehension by 200%. Dragon Array, Level 1, Spirit Gathering Array, Level 1, double the gathering of spiritual power, Water Array, Level 1, able to resist attacks below Level 12. Spirit Item. Ancestral Tree. Level, able to return souls to creatures below Level 13. Activated Creature Intelligence. Increases the speed of fire attribute cultivators by 100%. You're tuning in to the Blissful Bookshelf YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.